What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of The Truth here on a Sunday morning. Start out with the yelling right off the bat. Let me just calm it down a little bit. It's a Sunday morning for most of us here, at least on the West Coast. Maybe a Sunday afternoon for some of you watching, or wherever you're at. Maybe even Sunday evening, I think, for some of you all in other areas of the world. What a morning it's been already here for me personally. For those of you who know who I am and follow me for a long time, I'm a big Liverpool fan. So today was the first preseason game with Liverpool since the unfortunate and tragic passing of Diogo Jota, one of my favorite players, players who was on the current team. Him and his brother passing away in that horrible accident. I watched the whole preseason intro because I don't have the plan to watch the game itself, but just watching the intro, got me all emotional again. So a lot happened there for me this morning. Of course, the Wimbledon Men's Open the final is happening right now for some of y'all watching that as well. But we are here this morning to talk about Superman and the box office records and what an explosion of joy there has come from large sections of the DC fandom and the Superman fandom over this movie. Oh, and I should just say, I guess right off the bat, this is the new approach to graphics for The Truth, thanks to my graphic designer. Now, I'm going to lower the box or get it smaller and maybe take a screen grab of this so he understands what I'm talking about when I said that I needed to get a little bit smaller so it's not covering a majority of my body or face here, so it, but still get the title of the show across here for people. But yeah, that's kind of the approach we're looking at. I like this as a new design, new color design, and I dig the way it's looking. But that I just wanted to say right off the bat, that's what we're dealing with this morning as well. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me this morning. We're going to get into, as I said, the Superman box office numbers. As I think the Rotten Tomatoes right now, 82%, 82 to 84% on the critics score, still a solid 95%. On the audience score side of things. We're going to dive into the numbers. I've got a lot of numbers here to go through and talk about and look at, and I want to hear from you all as well. So I want to hear what you all think of these numbers and what you predict will be happening in the next few weeks when it comes to Superman and its box office, with Jurassic World Rebirth still hanging around, and F1 still almost about to cross $400 million globally. F1, if you've seen the new numbers for F1, pretty amazing stuff. And then you've got Fantastic Four just around the corner, literally 2 weeks away or 11 days away from it coming out. So it's just around the corner as well. No, not 11. I guess 2 weeks. I guess I'll just say 2 weeks. 2 weeks away from it coming out here, which is just around the corner. So there's so much happening around this Superman movie. We're going to explore the numbers, take a look and see where we're at on this. And are the numbers really what they seem to be? We saw that last week with Jurassic World Rebirth. Yes, the 5-day totals were great for that movie, considering how people didn't anticipate that it would do that well, but it did not do as well as the 5-day numbers for the Jurassic World movie. So are we properly assessing our reaction to that film? And will this film have legs overall? And I just don't believe Jurassic World Rebirth will. So I'm going to look at that. I'm going to dive into the Superman side of things. I'm also going to talk about some of the controversies here that have gone on. People going on about the Jor-El video and the tape. I tweeted about that this morning. Is that real? Is it not real? What's the deal behind that? And James Gunn talking about doing some spinoff shows with Mr. Terrific and Jimmy Olsen. Is that a possibility? Would you guys be excited for that? And what more are we going to get here when it comes to the DC universe from James Gunn? I'm real curious to talk about all of that and see where we're going with all of that as well. So just all of that. And then later, I am going to offer my full-throated defense of Man of Steel, because I've just had enough of it. 12 years of people snarking and condescendingly attacking that movie with one side of their mouths, and then on the other side of their mouths going, we need to stop toxicity in fandom. I'm so tired of toxicity in fandom. When in fact, you're becoming the exact thing that you're claiming you're against. So to me, I just want to offer my full-throated defense of Man of Steel, because I'm so sick and tired of seeing people go after that movie in such asshole-ish ways that it has become, for me, just aggravating on so many levels. And to me, they're coming close to rivaling any toxicity out of the Snyder Bros fandom this side of death threats. So to me, I'm just kind of want to explore that and explain my positions on that movie, why I love that movie, why I think it still endures as well. And it's as if this show isn't stacked enough with all the stuff I want to talk about this morning on The Truth, I'm also going to be giving away 5 pairs of tickets to see Superman this week. Fandango reached out to me over the weekend through the publicists here in San Diego, and they offered me 5 pairs of tickets to give away to people who want to see Superman for the first time or again. Not everybody saw it this weekend, so we're going to be. I'm going to say, actually, should I even start it now? I guess I should start it now since the show. We never know how long the show is going to go. I try to keep it under 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours. We will see. But if you want to put your name in the hat for this, you've got to be okay with me getting your email, or you can DM me. And B, you've got to be available to use these tickets, and it's 2 tickets per person. So you can bring someone, bring a family member, bring a friend, bring a significant other, what have you, to see the movie, or a friend to see the movie. So yeah, those are the things going on. So the way you enter, I guess I'm just going to say this, the way you enter is to tell me your favorite line from a Superman movie or animated show. So I'm not going to pick them out of the chat. I would like it if you guys DM'd me on Twitter or DM'd me on Instagram, and I will check that as the show goes along, and I'll pick winners and announce your names on the show, and then I'll send you the stuff after the show. But yes, 5 pairs of tickets for Superman are in play today from Fandango and the fine publicists who take care of me down here in San Diego. So there you go. There we go. That's where I want to start. All right. So I've got drinks here today for me this morning. Got my protein shake, got my water, got my iced tea. I'm ready to go here. So if you catch me drinking, since I'm by myself, catch me drinking stuff, I'm just trying to nourish myself as we go along. Oh, and one last thing. Streamlabs and Superchats are open. Please send in your love as we go along. Please send in your support for the channel, for the show. Do you like me coming on Sunday mornings and talking about things that are going on and giving you my truth, the truth of what's going on? Let me send in your love and support that way as well. 235 of you already joining me live. Thank you so much for joining me on a Sunday morning to talk about all this stuff. I really appreciate it. Please make sure you hit a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the content we're doing, and if you're enjoying all the new changes to the channel as well, please feel free. New graphics, the new banner, the new shows, the new approach, all of it. The shorts, if you guys haven't been watching my shorts, I've been putting up shorts now thanks to a new shorts editor who's a part of our team now here on the soon-to-be John Rocha channel. They've been doing a great job. All 4 shorts have done really well. The last short that's up now that's talking about the Jimmy Olsen Mr. Terrific news through James Gunn is almost at 35,000 views. So pretty good to see that happening for someone who's just starting out doing shorts here this week. First time ever. Really excited to do that as well. All right. That's enough of the precursor and the opening to everything. Let's get into it. Superman debuted this weekend. What an opening for Superman. Let's take a look at some of the numbers here. Worldwide debut, 217 million overall. Domestic debut is at 122, 123. The Chinese debut was at 6.6 million. Exhibitor Relations are giving us this number, and ouch is their editorial comment. But no surprise. Superman doesn't always do well in China. A lot of superhero films don't always do well in China. The budget is 225 for the film, plus marketing, which is probably another 100 to 200. That's been the rumors. The cinema scores A-, and here are the demos broken down by ethnicity. The audience was Caucasian by 55% of the audience was Caucasian. 22% of the audience was Hispanic/Latino. 14% of the audience was Black. 8% of the audience was Asian. 47% of the box office came from premium formats. 13% came from 3D. And the top location, apparently, was AMC Burbank in all of America. The top domestic location was AMC Burbank, and the top market was Los Angeles there for the film. So good numbers overall for the movie, 122 to 123 million domestically, and then over 200 million there globally and climbing. And of course, these numbers are not coming from WB officially. These are numbers coming from Deadline. I think Exhibitor Relations doing their own numbers as well. This would be, looking at the numbers, the second 100 million plus opening from Warner Brothers this year, when you include a Minecraft movie, which opened at 162. This is the second best opening for a Superman movie overall, behind BVS, which I kind of don't really count, to be honest with you. Yes, Superman is in it, and yes, it's Superman v Batman, but that Batman is a big bringer of people. And if you look at the Batman's numbers, the Batman's opening weekend numbers are better than Superman's opening weekend numbers from this weekend. So the Batman itself as a character brings a lot of extra numbers. So yes, you can say it's the second best opening for a movie with Superman in it, but I don't think it should be considered on the same tier. Myself personally, it is the best opening for a Superman first franchise installment ahead of Man of Steel, which had 116.6 million reported over a 3-day opening. But that, of course, is not adjusted for inflation, because adjusted for inflation, it would be much higher. And it's the second best opening for James Gunn behind Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which opened at 146.5 million. So second best opening for James Gunn. Now, here's some box office records. I think I mentioned a couple already, but here are the box office records that have been broken. It earned 22.5 million in Thursday previews, which it just blows away Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, 17.5 million. So that makes it Gunn's best preview box office number ever. It's also eclipsed the $14.5 million that Lilo and Stitch made earlier this year. So to date, it has the best preview of 2020, best opening preview numbers of 2025. So it'd be that Thursday, 2025. So for now, we don't know how Fantastic Four is going to do, or any films coming down over the next few months are going to do. But for right now, it is the number one film opening, number one preview opening on Thursdays. Lastly, at 22.5 million, Superman has crushed the 9 million that Zack Snyder's Man of Steel grossed back in 2013 to snag the title for best preview box office for a solo Superman movie. But it was not able to best, as I said, BVS, even on the preview box office, because that opened on the preview day of Thursdays with 27.7 million. So that will hold on to what it's going to do. So you look at the 122, 123 million. Now, I know Jeff Snyder said 160, other people thinking 130, 140. We even heard as high as 150 because of the opening that it had with that $22 million opening. But of course, it did not hit that number. So what does that mean? We're going to explore that in just a second. And some of you may be wondering, well, did the right wing not show up for this? Did the red counties, the red states, did this immigrant narrative that popped up thanks to James Gunn's response to a question, and the Fox News, Newsmax, whatever, what was the OAN, and when they ran with it, and Kellyanne Conway and all those people made a big old deal out of it, and Dean Cain jumped in because, Dean Cain needs to be relevant every once in a while whenever a Superman conversation pops up. It did not. This did not slow. The red county zones are not underperforming according to Deadline. Rather, they're churning out the average amount of cash for a PG-13 family adventure movie. Well, how do you get those numbers? Well, Entertainment Intelligence, so Intelligence, which is a box office stat organization, the red county theaters, according to their studies over the years, averaged 33% of the weekend box office for PG-13 family adventure movies, while blue counties averaged 61%. So what were Superman's numbers? Well, their numbers through Wednesday saw 60% of its business, and that's pre-sales, from blue county theaters and 34% from red county venues. So clearly very similar to the average of what you usually see. So that immigrant narrative did nothing to affect the box office numbers. And Intelligence is also currently seeing 44% of the Peter Safran Gunn production coming from population centers with over 1 million people. And the norm for these kinds of movies is 44%. So it's hitting all the things that it's supposed to hit. And there are similarities with Man of Steel. Over the first 3 days, Zack Snyder's movie between its Thursday and Friday did 56 million. Its Saturday fell 35% for 36 million. And Matt Reeves' The Batman eased 24% between its Friday previews and Saturday. Warner's didn't combine Thursday into Friday, and they didn't include the 12 million the Zack Snyder movie made on Thursday into the 3-day opening weekend. And that held, Sunday did, of Man of Steel, held for a pretty strong 36.2 million, even with its Saturday. So pretty amazing stuff there for Man of Steel back then. This is coming a little bit lower. The numbers for Superman currently, the Saturday and Sunday numbers are a little lower than the Friday numbers. So we'll get into that. As I said, it is as I said, second $100 million opening, but Superman costs $225 compared to Thunderbolts, right? The opening weekend, 74.3, and Brave New World, 88.8 million. It certainly blew those films out of the water. And walk-up business for the movie, 49% of the people who were surveyed told ComScore Screen Engines Post Track that they bought their tickets the same day, which is a prized number for these box office numbers. And compare this to 41% who bought their tickets on the first Friday of Deadpool and Wolverine as walk-ups, and the 57% who bought their tickets as walk-ups on day one at Minecraft Movie. So somewhere in the middle between those two. So pretty good for where it's at, right? For how it started. It has excellent audience scores, as I said, an A- cinema score. 74% said they definitely recommend it. An 86% positive score on the ComScore Screen Engines Post Track. And then solid A cinema score from the under 24 set, including children. And clearly, a lot of people who've been dinging this movie say the movie is made for kids. It's a little loopy or silly or whatever. But hey, if you're getting those young people to come in to see the movie over and over and over again, and those young people have more time than people who are working 2 or 3 jobs in order to pay the rent for some of those people to live in their houses, that's a positive. Batman v Superman had a B cinema score, which was a clear sign that it was going to start dropping, which it eventually did. So, and the A- cinema score for Superman is the same as Man of Steel. It is ahead of Bryan Singer's Superman Returns, which was a B+, and ahead of Quest for Peace, which was a C, of course. And as I said, AMC Burbank, we talked about the diversity with all of this. The male-female demographic is 68% male, 32% female, which is very similar to Deadpool and Wolverine, which was 63% male, 37% female. Apparently, more people want to see Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds' abs, with 66% under 35, which is the same turnout as Deadpool and Wolverine. So 66% of the audience was under 35. Now, if you want to break it down within the audience, demo quads in order are men over 25%, were 43% of the audience with 87% grade. Men under 25%, 25 years old were 25% of the audience and gave it a 90% grade. Women over 25 were 19% of the audience. They gave it an 81% grade. And women under 25 were 13% of the audience and gave it a 90% grade. So women who are over 25 were a little harsher on the film than women who were under 25. And men who were over 25 were slightly harsher on the film than men who were under 25. So these numbers are very similar to Deadpool and Wolverine. And let's see what else. Most influential marketing materials. Social media was 20%. The in-theater trailers 15%. The online trailers 13%. And friends and family was 12%. So I think those are some of the numbers that we can kind of talk about and take a look at. And of course, 82%, as I said, with the critics, 94 to 95% with the audience, depending on when you're checking Rotten Tomatoes. I submitted my score the day after the film came out. And it's also, is this everything? I think that's all it is. Yeah. All right. So there you go. So quite a lot of numbers here to process and take a look at and see here. But another part of these numbers, and we have to take a look at this as well. And I want to bring up my brother here online because Josh over there at Den of Nerds has been posting some points about the movie as well, and about how the box office is doing on the film. And I wanted to bring those numbers up for y'all to either to read to you all or for y'all to look at. But he's been posting some of the numbers and the decreasing numbers for this thing as well. So here's what he posted. So I'm going to share the screen. I think if I remember how to share the screen on Twitter here. Here we go. Yeah. So here's sharing the screen. Is my graphic up over my face? All right. So you see that. Let me take the graphic down. You see that. Boom. You see that there. 26 per. Oh, let me move it over. Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's how you have to look at it. So Thursday was a $12 million preview. Friday was a $44 million preview. Saturday, 36. Sunday, 36. And this is the numbers that you see happening here for Man of Steel in comparison to how it was doing. So in comparison to Superman, how Superman is doing now, these are the Man of Steel numbers. And as I said earlier, 36 million for Saturday and Sunday. But it seems like Superman is dropping a little bit when you look at the numbers from Friday to Saturday and Sunday. So it's going to be interesting to see if this thing holds up. 123 million is good when you look at it initially. And when you look at it initially, look at it, vacuum and in a window, and you've got to factor in. You've also got to factor in where we're at right now, right? I mean, DC is a bit of a damaged brand because of things that have gone before. the superhero genre of movies is also a little damaged because as we've seen Marvel kind of stumbling out through these last two phases with their TV shows and their movies. And some people liked a lot of people liked Ironheart, and so a significant number of people did not. That's the most recent one. Thunderbolts reviewed well, audience score really good, but the numbers weren't there box office wise to go see that movie to make it a success. And then Brave New World pretty much split the Marvel audience in half. So the less said about that, the better. So this is not the strongest time for a movie to be coming out, but it is summer. It is 2025. It is a James Gunn film. And so a lot of people were excited to see the movie, and the numbers show that a lot of people showed up to see the movie. Now it's going to be, what are the legs on this? And like Josh has been pointing out, and other people pointed out this morning as I was reading the analysis of it, 123 million looks good in a vacuum. It doesn't necessarily look good for the film going forward to hit the 6 or 7 or 800 million that those $22 million preview numbers would have led you to believe. So the film has broken box office records. It's done really well with the majority of the audience. People are going to see this movie from multiple demographics and multiple age ranges. It is checking the boxes to correlate with the type of movie that it is historically, aligning itself with other movies that have come out that are PG-13 and other superhero movies that are PG-13. So it is doing the numbers there. But the question becomes now, are some of the criticisms affecting people going back to see it more than once? And are the people who have had issues with the movie, are they affecting some of their audience going to see it for the first time? And we're not really going to know until this upcoming weekend. But 123 is strong. The fact that it dropped, though, as the weekend went along, that's a little concerning as well. And Warner Brothers has already done all kinds of damage control here, just in case. And I don't mean damage control as a result of the numbers. I mean ahead of time before the numbers came out. Sorry, I got to drink a little bit. You had 700 million. Well, James Gunn saying that it was ridiculous, something to that effect, to think that it needed to hit 700 million. And then I think Warner Brothers came out and said $500 million is where we'd be happy at with this movie. Let alone, never mind that Man of Steel made almost $700 million in its full run. So it's a curious position that the movie finds itself in. Clearly, enough people didn't enjoy the film to go back multiple times to see this movie over and over and over again. Sorry, I got 16. Yeah. So this is the thing when you look at it. So yeah, looking at it all here. So these are the things that you look at with it. So you start to wonder, like, what is the passing of these numbers? What is it going to lead to? And to me, when I look at these numbers, if I was Warner Brothers and I wanted this thing to hit 500 million, 123 is the smoke screen that I would push out there PR wise. But looking deeper into the numbers, I might be a little bit concerned. And are people going to come back and see this movie multiple times? My buddy on the Geek Buddy, Shannon McClung, has already seen the movie 3 times, might be going a 4th time tomorrow to see the movie. And I know after we finished our spoiler review yesterday, for those of you who haven't seen it, it is up on the channel with the 3 of us on the Geek Buddies, breaking the film down over 2.5 hours, including Streamlabs and Superchat questions. He is definitely going to see it more than 2 times as well. I'll go back a 3rd time sometime this week as well. So there are those of us within the bubble who are into it, but I wonder where it's going to land. And for me, I think that, yeah, 500 is going to be something they should be happy about. I don't know that it's going to hit 600. I think if you get caught up in the just looking in the bubble and looking at everyone else who's celebrating this and going crazy about it, being excited about it and being like, yes, this has got to happen. This is going to be awesome. Then you think, okay, this is going to be amazing. But then you're falling into the same trap, which a lot of people fell into after the Thursday numbers came through, which was 22 million. Right. So when you look at those numbers, you go, the Wrap, I think, even came out with and was speculating 150, like 140 to 150. Well, it didn't hit that. It went down to 123 in the end. So I think these opening preview numbers, which included the Tuesday numbers, by the way, from the Prime Video screenings, I think those numbers got us into a state of mind of like, look what's possible. But box office is a marathon. It is not a sprint. It can start out as a sprint, but it is a marathon. And so, can you hold on? And I think when I look at these numbers, my truth is that I think these are not troubling numbers, but I think these aren't all the way numbers to be supremely excited and positive about. I think there are things to be concerned about within the numbers. Some things, not all. I think a majority of the numbers are great, and you should be excited to a degree for it. But I do think you can't be planning like, oh man, we're going to break 800 million or a billion on this one. I think this is going to nestle somewhere between 5 and 6. And if it hits 6, fantastic, great. Word of mouth was amazing. People going to see it multiple times helped. And that's awesome for them, right? For me, 7 or 8 is where I would say super success. No one can say shit. Let's go forward. But it's going to be curious. The 5 to 6 range is going to be curious because WB can say all they want. They have the real numbers, and it'll take leaks for us to find out for real what their feelings are about the numbers and what they think about the final numbers when Superman finally peters out at the box office. That's when you're going to find out for real, like what they think about what happened. And so we'll see. But right now, I'd be excited, just not too excited about these numbers and where they're going. So, yeah. So, and the thing is, where you're at right now, you have to also factor that in, as I said earlier, where we're at right now as a society, where we're at with superhero movies, where we're going, what our expectations are. And I saw, Michael Kalinowski, shout out to Kalinowski, my brother there, in the world of geekery and then the world of nerddom and superherodom. We've been going back and forth on social media about the box office numbers for Superman. And, to him is like, well, it's a different time. It's a different time. It's a different landscape. And people were like, well, it's getting the bump from Man of Steel got the bump from the Nolan movies. Yeah, but this is James Gunn. James Gunn has had a number of successful Marvel movies. So they're getting a bump from the James Gunn. Or else Warner Brothers wouldn't have put James Gunn front and center for the PR campaign. They wouldn't have allowed him to go front and center for the PR campaign if they didn't think James Gunn was leading to bigger box office numbers for the movie or was going to help in a big way to get good numbers for the movie, right? I mean, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't say, well, James Gunn, you're putting too much expectations on this movie, but then they're trotting out but then I support them trotting out James Gunn to promote the movie. Yeah, you trotting him out because he's going to get people into seats because he's got a historically great box office track record. Not because you put DC on it should James Gunn's name be overshadowed. That's ridiculous, So I think to me, this is where you look at, and you have to offer an honest assessment here. If the numbers fall between 5 and 6, it's 5 and 600 million. It's clear that enough of the movie did not appeal to enough people that it didn't become a bigger hit. And that's just the honest truth, right? Because I think a Superman movie, in my opinion, should be hitting 700 million in this box office day and age. If Lilo and Stitch can make almost $1 billion, if the Minecraft movie can make almost $1 billion, if Deadpool and Wolverine can make over $1 billion, then a Superman film that has numbers like this in terms of the reaction from the audience, the reaction from the critics, all in the upper 80s to upper 90s, as I broke down the demographics earlier, this should lead to a bigger box office number. Now, I do think WB is going to go forward with James Gunn, and whatever the numbers are between 5 and 6, it's not going to matter to their overall process. So for those people who are like, well, I don't want them to have bad box office numbers so that they end up using it. So they end up using it as an excuse to not go forward with the James Gunn universe. I certainly can understand that. I mean, that's a genuine fear people have of how WB in the past through different regimes has historically fucked up a lot of stuff around the DC universe. I totally understand that because me personally, I thought they should have kept going with the Zack Snyder universe without meddling in it and forcing him to put Batman into that movie too quickly instead of doing the standalone Chris Terrio film with Ben Affleck that they were going to do. WB overreacted and it fucked up the universe. And who knows what the end result of that Zack Snyder universe would have been if he'd been allowed to just do his vision and trust that people would go along with him on this journey, that the WB trusted that people would go along with him on this journey. They didn't, they adjusted, and so we see what happened. I certainly don't hope that happens here. I loved Superman. I thought it was a really fun film. Are there issues with it? Yes. Did we talk about those issues on the Geek Buddies? Absolutely. Do I see other issues that I don't agree with that people had with the movie? Absolutely, but I don't agree with them, so I don't give them much credit in my mind. But overall, I think this was a audience pleasing, a crowd pleasing, fun popcorn superhero film, which had something really positive to say about our world today and the things we're going through. It certainly was much more the Superman that everyone was complaining about wasn't in Zack Snyder's movie. It's a Superman that's much more in line with the Richard Donner Superman. Even the Superman Returns from Bryan Singer has more of that energy to it. A fully formed Boy Scout who at times, yes, does get passionate, does get emotional, but his heart is always in the right place. And so people love that and enjoy it. But when you look at the numbers and you look at some of the criticism that is coming from some of the quarters of movie fandom, I was reading the Forbes review this morning, not a pretty review. And I'll be honest with you, for me, the show's called The Truth. It means I tell my truth here. I do think you have to hunt out and look for reviewers who are going to challenge your point of views on a movie. That's how you really solidify how you feel about a film. If you're afraid to read a review because you're afraid to have your opinion changed on a movie, that's not good. If you don't want to read a negative review or a review that you know is going to be negative from someone who is intelligent and seasoned and experienced as a movie reviewer, simply because you don't want to read it, you don't want to hear it about anything negative, I don't think that's a strong place to be. For me personally, I like to challenge my views all the time. I like to read other people's points of views that challenge my points of views. I like to look at everything. That's why I'm a political junkie, because I read all sides. I look at all sides. I make my own minds up in the end, but I look at all sides and read all sides. And the same thing here in the world of movies and TV and entertainment. I like to see the other side. Now, are there bad faith arguments being made? Yes. Are there bad faith analysis of the movie being made? Yes. Are they bad faith reviews because these people need to grift to make money off their bad faith reviews? Yes. Those are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about people like at Forbes, people like at over in the UK with some of those publications, like reading some of their breakdowns, right? What was the negative one that came out from the Daily Beast? Like there are breakdowns that you can read or analysis rather that you can read that breaks down the movie in a way that you can go, okay, I can see that point, but it didn't bother me, and that's okay. I can see exactly what they're saying. I totally get their point of view. I see the logic in where they're at, but I just don't agree with it because it worked for me in a different way. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's totally fair to look at other people's points of views on this and make your own idea on this. All right, we've got 500 people of you joining me live right now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on the soon-to-be John Rocha channel. This is a new show we're doing now on Sunday mornings called The Truth. This will probably be a consistent show we do every Sunday at 10 a.m. until football season starts. Then we're going to go up to 9 a.m. because I don't mind missing the first quarter of a game or some of the games. But it'll be 10 a.m. until the NFL season starts, or maybe, NFL season starts. And then it'll be 9 a.m. After that, which I think is in September. But that's kind of the plan here. And then occasionally I'll do a show like I did midweek this past week when the cacophony of sound and voices who were complaining or who were coming out and questioning the reviews of some of my fellow brethren on YouTube and the influencers that are around in our society, and questioning whether they've gotten paid or not. When the noise gets loud enough, I'll decide to go impromptu live and talk about it. Because, I like having the option of doing that with a show like this called The Truth, which is much more freeform in its approach to all of this. So, all right, I'm going to have a drink now at the 30-minute mark here. A little too fast there. Yes, and that's my protein shake. As I've said about my weight loss journey, I'm down 40 pounds now. Sticking to the plan. Good plan, a plan that's very easy to stick to. Loving it. For those of you who want to explore that, Awaken 180 weight loss is the place to do that. That's who started me on this path, on this journey. They've got powders, they've got food, they've got liquids they can send, all these kind of stuff they can send and recommend to you. And if some of the food isn't to your taste, they will recommend a food that you can get in the grocery store that lines up with their approach to eating. And it's a very healthy form of eating. 5 to 6, 7, 8 ounce is of meat and lean meat, good meat, with 2 cups of vegetables. Could be broccoli, could be asparagus, could be Brussels sprouts, could be anything. And for me, I found that replacing my rice and my potatoes, which I usually ate all the time, with vegetables filled me up in a way that I didn't think was possible. Focusing on cooking my own food. I bought some new pans and cooked my own food, learning how to cook my own food. The fact that it takes me less time, and I used to think it would take me more time. It takes me less time to prep my food, make my food, and eat and be ready to eat my food than it does to get in the car, drive to a fast food place, sit in line, order the food, then come home and eat it. It's been amazing to see that and how my body's responded to it. I haven't lifted one weight. I haven't walked 1 mile. I haven't done any kind of workout at all, but I've lost 40 pounds. So for those of you who may be in a place where you're not, excited about working out, that you're a little tired of working out, that you're bored with working out, I encourage you to check out awaken180weightloss.com. Look, they're not paying me to sponsor here on the show. They were sponsoring on the Cinephiles for a little bit, but then they stopped. So I highly recommend you head on over there and try them out and mention my name. Either email them and mention my name, and Paige over there might give you a discount for the first couple of weeks or whatever, the first week rather. And they have a 7-day money back guarantee. So if you're not seeing the change immediately, you're not feeling the change immediately, you can get your money back. If you not find yourself fitting into the pattern or the meal plan, all of that, you can do that. And this is not unhealthy food, y'all. This is good food that they're recommending. I'm very happy. I feel lighter. All my numbers have gone down on my blood work. All my numbers are in great spots for all of this stuff. So I, as a guy who struggled and got to 264, which was pretty embarrassing for me, I didn't really even understand how heavy I was. This has been a godsend. So I can't recommend it enough. There's my mini commercial impromptu for it all. Josh says you should work out. Well, duh, Josh, fucking duh. But I'm getting there. For me, it was more about losing the weight. Now that I'm at this weight at 223, 224, back and forth, depending on the day, now I'm a little lighter to get on the machines, a little lighter to take a walk, a little lighter to do the workouts that I want to do, and not feeling heart pains or feeling muscle pains or feeling overtly heavy. It has been now an exciting time for me to start looking at how I'm going to start working out with the losing of the weight. So there we go. All right. So that's the Superman stuff for the box office side of things. I think in the end, we are happy with the numbers. If you're you're happy with the numbers if you're a Superman fan. But if you're a realist, you're also a little bit nervous about the numbers going forward into the second weekend and the third weekend. What will the holds be like? What will the day-by-day numbers be like? And will the theater start opening up? Like, will we get photos of IMAX screenings that only have 10 people in them by like Thursday or Friday in certain cities and in certain towns? Will that start to happen? Then you know the film is kind of losing steam and people are prepping for Fantastic Four. So we will see. And I'd love to hear what you guys think. Are you going to, or do you think it's going to hit 6, 7? Do you think it's going to be 5, a little bit over 5, but not too much over 5? Like, where do you all land on it? I want to hear about it in the comment section as well. All right, now oh yeah, I hear you. Let's get into this other stuff that's going on here with Superman. There's been a lot of controversies. First of all, let's deal with the minor one. Some people have been upset about how Ma and Pa Kent are portrayed in the movie. And we certainly have seen, this gentleman play Jonathan Kent, Kevin Costner, former A-list matinee idol star Kevin Costner. Diane Lane played Ma Kent in the previous version of the Superman series there in Man of Steel. So you had those two beautiful former A-list stars in terms of their in their prime, being Ma and Pa Kent. Before that, we had Glenn Ford in the 1978 movie. I don't remember if we had Ma and Pa Kent in Superman Returns. I've only seen that twice, and I don't remember a Ma and Pa Kent. but we've obviously had John Schneider and Ed O'Toole in the Smallville series and what have you. So a number of people were upset about the portrayal of Ma and Pa Kent. They thought, the early previews were saying that they thought they made him stupid or made him dumb, and some people have complained about the accent, but the accent has been verified from a number of other people who grew up in Kansas. And the thing is, just because you're from one section of Kansas doesn't mean you can speak for every other section of Kansas and what it sounds like. I'm from Virginia, but I couldn't tell you some of the accents that would come from Virginia and be like, well, that's inauthentic. It's inauthentic to my experience. It doesn't mean that those accents didn't exist in Virginia or don't exist in Virginia. I think the same thing here with Kansas. But I think what they nailed here was what it would be like if this was an older couple who found Clark and who was not the matinee idols like Glenn Ford and Kevin Costner and TV idols like John Schneider were. What would this Pa Kent be like, Pruitt Taylor Vince? And I thought they did a really good job with both of them. And I don't understand the push. I grew up in Virginia, Southern Virginia, areas of Southern Virginia. I know people just like this with different accents, obviously, but people just like this who are just really down to earth, grounded people, and not simple in any way, shape, or form, but maybe simple in how they view life. Good is clear, evil is clear, bad is clear to them. There's not a lot of gray. And when there are struggles, you lean on family, you lean on the things that brought you here, you lean on the lessons you've learned throughout life. And I think that is so important when you see them. They're so cute together. The fact that she calls him mush, all of that is really fun to see as well. And her approach to, like, she's got his boots lined up, but she's clearly in control of the house with how she deals with Pa Kent and then how she deals with Clark. Like, she knows how to talk to him about stuff. She knows how to get to where she needs to get to with him. And she knows where to push and where not to push. And when she's talking to Lois, she's very clear about her respect and care and admiration for Lois. Pa gets her name wrong, and so there's different things that you see going on in the movie that I think worked really well. So if you didn't like this portrayal, great. But if you're saying you didn't like this portrayal because you think it portrayed them as stupid, you're way off base. In my opinion, you're wrong. My truth is that they are absolutely a really good interpretation for this Superman. Every Ma and Pa Kent fits, in my opinion, for the Superman that's being made, right? Glenn Ford fit for that Superman. Glenn Ford was a former matinee idol. This is the late 1970s. He was big in the 60s and 50s. And so it was great to see him take on this role. And so same thing with Kevin Costner, who had been great a couple of decades before. And now here you have someone like Pruitt Taylor Vince, who's a fantastic character actor. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the other lady's name. And they're good character actors who deliver a really grounded, homely approach to Clark Kent, which fits for the Clark Kent that you're seeing in the movie. And so I kind of appreciated that. The other controversy coming out of this one, which is really big, is the Jor-El controversy with the engineer and Luther. There with the great Sarah Sampaio playing Eve Tessmacher, going into the Fortress of Solitude, finding the message from Jor-El and Laura, and apparently deciphering it so that it says basically that Kal-El should, what should I say, should lead these people and control human beings, that human beings are weak, and that you are stronger than they are, so use your strength to your benefit, and you should create multiple harems and basically populate the world with half Kryptonian children until eventually it's full Krypton again. Now, I understand people being upset about this, and I also understand the people who are saying, be patient, because I'm more in that camp now as I look at the film as a whole, having seen it a second time. It's very clear to me, at least I believe this, that James Gunn cast Bradley Cooper, a man who he cast as Rocket Raccoon in multiple movies and gave incredible arcs for that character to go through in multiple movies. I think he knew, I'm going to cast him because I have more for him to do in this universe. Because I don't know if we're going to see much of Rocket out of once we get done with Secret Wars and Doomsday. So where we go with Bradley Cooper? Well, there's possibilities of more here with Jor-El. There's possibilities that this is altered footage or fake footage. And I think it's okay to believe that. I think it's okay to reserve judgment on this. It's also okay for you to hate it and don't like it. And if this is the way they go, you're not a fan of it. But by the same token, it's okay for people to be patient with this and see where James Gunn is leading to. with this. This is the first film in a DC universe. This is not a standalone movie like Man of Steel was. Well, I guess Man of Steel. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they planned to make Man of Steel a launch for a universe, and then eventually it was with the Batman v Superman thing. But I think they wanted it to be a bit of a standalone, then a sequel, then see where we go down the line, right? It wasn't necessarily the launch stuff. This film was clearly launching stuff to go into a bigger DC universe led by James Gunn. So, because it's the beginning of a universe and not kind of a standalone film like 1978 Superman was, I think this leads me to believe that there's more to see here in all of this. And it's very possible that, and this is fair too, that they had an idea for Jor-El that he was going to be a certain way. And then when they saw the reaction to people online and social media and the anger from people, they're like, okay, clearly this was a misstep. Let's find a way to readjust this and retcon this and make it work. We have Supergirl, I think, has already been shot. So, and there are rumors that this stuff is going to play into Supergirl with David Krumholtz playing Amelia Alcock's father. So that is going to be interesting to see how much of we're going to see on Krypton in that movie and how much of Jor-El we might be seeing in that movie. There have been no rumors that Bradley Cooper, I don't think, is showing up in the movie, but that doesn't mean he isn't. That doesn't mean they didn't keep his role under wraps or put him under cloaks or whatever, because the only reason the Bradley Cooper thing leaked out ahead of time is because people had seen screenings of the movie and went on Reddit and leaked that Bradley Cooper was in the movie. So it wasn't because some eagle-eyed person on the set saw Bradley Cooper and then posted it and what have you. So it's that kind of a situation. So we will see what the end result is. But to me, when I look at it in the movie, I didn't believe it, and I don't still 100% believe it until they fully say, yes, this is it, done and done. Because Luthor was looking for any kind of information, and he's a tech genius and a multi-billionaire in the movie is what it's portrayed as. He's looking for any information to turn the public against Clark. How much do we trust the engineer who found the footage and deciphered the footage? I don't know, because the engineer clearly had an issue with Superman when they're fighting in the stadium. He says to her, it's not too late, it's not too late. And she's like, it is, and I'm coming for you, and I'm going to destroy you, and blah, blah, blah. So she has a bias towards to get Clark Kent and Superman seen as a negative person as well to the overall public. So their purposes align. But how much of that footage was doctored, how much of that footage was edited? And you're dealing with Luthor, who is jumping through pocket universes. So clearly this guy has no problem fucking around with dimensions, fucking around with space. So the possibility that Brainiac could be involved here is not out of the realm of possibility with this situation as well, especially because it's called Gods and Monsters, right? And gods don't just have to be gods from Earth or on Earth or whatever. It can be gods in terms of power and abilities from other planets, as Superman is. So the possibility of Brainiac coming in to be a part of all of this, why wouldn't that be possible with Luthor and Brainiac working together? We saw the Hall of Justice, and if we've got a Hall of Justice, we have to have possibly a Legion of Doom, and they have a place to meet. And the Legion of Doom has included in the past all the heroes, or all the villains rather, that you've seen in a lot of the villains rather that you've seen in the DC comics and what have you. So there is possibilities that this message isn't necessarily the message from Jor-El. That being said, there is a history of this in Smallville. There's a history of this in the comics. There's a history of this in Krypton. So the series that was on Sci-Fi Channel or CW, I think it's Sci-Fi Channel. And so you've seen that be a part of it. So it doesn't mean that it's clear that there's a history of it. So it's not that big of a deal. I think a lot of people didn't feel it was that big of a deal, but there is a loud minority of people who are upset about what happened here. And you saw the articles shattering the canon from people who've seen 3 movies and maybe haven't read all the comics and all the storylines in the comics. And so I don't think it's shattering the canon if it's been done already. And if this is the approach, I do agree with the people, though, who have issues with this, that if this is the approach that James Gunn is going with, he's got to really make this work, because people like the idea of a Jonathan Kent and a Jor-El that are positive influences in Cal's life. People love Superman, and they love their Superman, as we're going to get into in Man of Steel when we have that discussion here in a little bit. Their Superman has to be a certain way. And if their Superman doesn't fit into their, if you're going to make changes to the Superman lore or the accepted Superman canon, you've got to really make it work. And if you don't make it work, people are going to call you out on it. People are going to come after you for it. So that's something I think that that has to be considered in all of this. And so we'll see what the end result of that is when we see more of what happens in the thing. So right. It wasn't, but the idea was there though for a while. And what happened down the road, they adjusted it and they understood like this was an overall storyline. So James can do the same thing here, right? And so it's very possible. Yasman says they also did it with the Waynes in Batman Telltale video game where it gets revealed they were criminals that control Gotham and would send their rivals and enemies to Arkham to shut them up, right? We've seen that. You're messing around with stuff. So we will see. Bradley Cooper plays Superman's uncle Nim-El, who would be a captive of Brainiac and Kandor in a sequel. Oh, maybe. That's very, very possible in all of this as well. All right, here we go. Oh, thank you all for putting up with that. I apologize. I got to get my protein in my body or else I start to shut down a little bit. Steven says evil Jor-El was a big unforced error in my opinion. Possibly, and there's a lot of people who feel the way you do, brother. I'm not going to say that anyone who feels this way about the movie is wrong or terrible because, look, everyone's got their feeling about what they want to see from their Superman, right? And so this could be an unforced error. Possibly, or this could be something that is leading to something else. But you've got to, what James Gunn is doing here with this movie is laying the seeds for stuff that's coming later. We wouldn't have gotten a Justice Society of America mural up there in the Hall of Justice with Wildcat clearly visible if he wasn't laying seeds for more things to come or kind of explaining that this has been around, the idea of metahumans has been around for 3 centuries, so we may get a JSA movie. We may see something, down the road. So these are all little seeds. And we didn't, for me, we didn't get a lot of Lois being a journalist in the movie. I would have liked more of Lois being a journalist in the movie. That may be something they go forward with, but they had to introduce her first, settle her in, connect her with Superman, and then see where we're going, right? And speaking of that, James Gunn came out and said the other day that he wants a Mr. Terrific spinoff TV show and a Jimmy Olsen spinoff TV show. I would be 100% down with that. I think Mr. Terrific should have his own show. And someone tweeted me the other day, well, Ryan Coogler was apparently talking to James Gunn. A Ryan Coogler Mr. Terrific movie, sign me up to be there opening day and probably multiple times after that. I would love that possibility. The TV show is possible as well because Ryan Coogler's been working on he was an executive producer on Ironheart. He's an executive producer on Eyes of Wakanda. So clearly he has experience both movie and TV wise. So I would love to see him be the EP of a Mr. Terrific series if we're going to go down that route because Eddie Gathegi was fantastic in it. The Jimmy Olsen one, I'm not as deep into it. And I'll tell you why, because Jimmy Olsen's not one of my characters. Like I could care less about how Jimmy Olsen is portrayed. I could care less about Jimmy Olsen in a Superman movie. It's just not my thing. And I know a lot of people love Jimmy Olsen, and I totally respect that. But there must always be the flip side of the coin, which is someone like me who doesn't really care for Jimmy Olsen as a character. Never liked him in the old Superman series either in the 1950s that I used to watch when I was a kid. Didn't care. I didn't care much for him in the Superman movies, although it was cool when he popped up. I think it was in the Flash movie as the guy who was signing him in. That actor, I thought that was a lot of fun. But I just never really cared about Jimmy Olsen. Scott Gisondo, I think did a good job. Gisondo did a good job with the character in the movie. And so sure, I think for the people who love Jimmy Olsen or liked his portrayal, you'd want to see that show. But I personally am not excited to see that show. Give me a Daily Planet show. That's a show I'd be excited to see because we criminally got so little of Wendell Pierce as Perry White. I would have loved to have seen more of Perry White. Cat Grant was fine. I guess we could have seen more with her, but there's more Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, Lois. I would have liked more of that. Even the Beck Bennett character that he was playing, which someone said was Bulldog from Frasier, and now I can't unsee that. I can't unring that bell because that's absolutely correct. Although Bulldog, I think, was a little more manly than this guy was. Um, stereotypical manly. So I would love to see a Daily Planet show. That would be awesome, right? That would be a really cool thing. I don't think Rachel Brosnahan would necessarily lead a show like that, because I think this is going to elevate Rachel now into much more feature films because of her performance and the way the film is doing so far. So I don't see her, but maybe she could like parachute in for an episode, parachute out. There's possibilities with that as well. So we will see. Yeah, there you go. I am too like says more Cat Grant. They love Cat Grant. Fair point. So there you go. And you could add more reporters and what have you. So, okay. Greg Wooten says he is listening to this at the gym. He's 20 minutes behind. Go get it, Greg. Get that workout in, son. Get that workout in. So we'll see. The other controversy, is there another? No, the other thing we should talk about is this. I think some people, here we go. This is Supergirl. Millie Alcock is Supergirl that it was in the movie. That's the shot of her from a scene, shot from the scene in the movie on the left there, as I'm looking at it on the left. And then the other two is clearly makeup being put on her face there, preparing for the scene. But these are the shots of her there. They were released, I think, yesterday. So I'm putting that up there. And some people have come out and said they didn't like this interpretation of Supergirl. They did not enjoy her saying, "Thanks, bitch," as she walked out the door with Crypto. And I have to say, I don't have a problem with this. I think James is smart. I think the people who are in his, how can I say this, on his production team, on his team, period, understand that they've got to appeal to the younger generation. And if you look at the box office numbers that I was spouting about maybe 45 minutes ago, when you break down the demographic numbers, he's doing better with this movie with the under 25 crowd, both in the rating and in the response and in the box office to a degree. So that's great. And so you bring a character like this, of course, based on Woman of Tomorrow, which I think Tom King, who wrote that. And it's a much more current version of Supergirl. So I think Millie, this was a great cameo for her and for DC and for James Gunn himself to say, this is the taste. This is what this is the kind of movie that you're going to be seeing in Supergirl. This is the approach. Now, it doesn't mean there's not going to be serious stuff or not going to be, dangerous stuff and stakes in the film. It just means that this is the kind of approach to Supergirl that they're taking with this movie. And for me personally, I'm on board. I'm 100% on board. I loved it. I thought it was funny. I thought it hit the right notes. Crypto smacking her into the ground and causing dents into the floor of the Fortress of Solitude, I thought was great. And the fact that you felt when she was walking out that, of course, that's her dog. An undisciplined dog like that is going to do whatever it wants to do. It still occasionally will take a command, but it's going to do what it wants to do. That makes sense for a dog from this version of Supergirl. So for me personally, I thought that was a great way in. But I know some people have an issue with this because, again, they're caught up in this idea of, well, not my Supergirl, hashtag not my Supergirl. And I just wonder when we're going to get to a point where we be a little more open to the interpretations of these characters, a little more open to letting creatives create what they want to have in these characters, and trust, right? Like my reaction to the Superman stuff was to the actual footage, right? Like this is a footage that I don't know if this works. And it wasn't about Superman. It was about Crypto the dog. Do I like the addition of Crypto, right? That was the thing that I was not a big fan of. If you go back and watch my trailer reactions, the robots, I think a little bit as well, because these are new things to me, not new approaches to the character itself, new approaches to the presentation of the universe. Those are differences. It's a slight difference, but it's a big difference in my opinion. And so for me, I was nervous about it. And I wasn't sure it was going to work. And it worked in the movie. It 100% worked in the movie. But Corn Sweat's energy, the energy from the movie itself about what was going on with Superman, I was a fan of that if you watch my trailer reactions for those trailers. So here, the same thing. I am a big fan of what we're getting from Millie Alcock so far. I like the energy coming off of her. I like the, how can I say this? I like the point of view, and I like the sassiness. I really do. At a time and an age where The people who tell you that everyone's being super sensitive about shit are the ones being super sensitive about shit. I think it's good to have an energy like this coming in, a DGAF energy who understands that she can do what she wants to do, an empowered young woman who is going to do what she wants. She's going to party like crazy, and she's still going to be there to save people and care about people and break some of the stereotypes that people have about people like that. I think that's a nice, challenging, fun, and interesting way to look at Supergirl. So for me personally, as I said with the Superman stuff, from what I saw in just this clip, I'm excited about the energy and approach they're going to have with this Supergirl. Now you add in Momoa, who radiates party animal in a lot of his films, and those two going at it. Now I'm excited to see what the scenes are going to be like, what the dialogue is going to be like, what the back and forth is going to be like between them. I'm excited about that as well. Well, let's see. Is there any more controversy around Superman that we should get into? Any of you guys have any? Does she also save squirrels? Maybe. Oh yeah, this is a great comment from who was this? Yeah, Eugene Johnson saying, I really want to see who punched Crypto. Right, the deleted scenes for the film. Right, they apparently cut 20 minutes out of the movie of Superman, and there were rumor. And then there was one of the people involved with the production spoke out and said that one of the scenes they cut was Crypto getting punched because it apparently offended people in the audience. Well, I can certainly understand that. It's a dog. People get real touchy when you mess with dogs. The Lady Outlaw is a massive dog lover. And so anything that goes on that harms dogs, she is not a fan of. It's why she hesitates to watch John Wick. And there's another show we were watching recently that upset her to see hurt come to a dog. So I understand that. I don't think you needed it in the movie. I think it might have sent the wrong message. That being said, though, yeah, I'll watch the scene and find out who punched the dog. But I do think it's a little unsettling that James would say, "Yeah, let's have a scene where Crypto gets punched." I'm not a fan of that. Some people have said this. Yes, let me bring this up. Stephen XDD said the score is so weak. Yeah, I've heard that from a few people that the score is not a strong score. I don't usually go in listening for the score, so I can't say too much about it. I do think they leaned on the John Williams score heavily and shades of the John Williams score heavily in order to get their point across. But yeah, that's the feeling I have there about that. So, but in preparation for my Man of Steel conversation that we're going to have here in a few minutes, I was just reminded how great that Hans Zimmer score is. Like, just chills, man. Chills. I love that Hans Zimmer score. It does not need to lean on John Williams' score. It walks its own path and is, to me, and this may be sacrilege to some of you, it's no less effective and moving and powerful than the John Williams score. Yes, we all love the, I totally get that. But for me, when I hear that, I am like, fuck yeah, let's go. Fuck yeah, let's go. So I know that might be sacrilege from you John Williams lovers, and I totally respect it. I'm not trying to denigrate your feeling on that. It's just for me personally. I get just as moved and just as many chills. I probably get more chills from the Hans Zimmer score, but from the John Williams score, I get more of that nostalgic smile. And so whereas the Hans Zimmer score makes me want to get out of my seat and do what Josh says and go work out, the John Williams score, whenever it comes on, just makes me smile and regresses me back to being 10 years old and watching the movie on TV. So yeah, that's what I would say about that. So yeah, all right, so there we go. Yeah, Zimmer score is unmatched. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's see. We've got 18 questions, but I want to get into my Man of Steel conversation here. But I do want to remind for some of you, because we have 400, we had 500. Obviously, we're getting close to 500 again. We had 500 people joining us live, but I just wanted to say to all of you who maybe were joining a little bit later, I said this at the top of the show. I'm giving away 5 tickets from courtesy of Fandango, 5 pairs of tickets to see Superman. So if you want to be entered into this contest and you're watching the show right now or watching it later, because it's going to be a 24-hour contest, by noon tomorrow, I will be sending out messages. DM me on Twitter or on Instagram your favorite line from a Superman movie, or animated or live action, and why, and you'll be entered. And what I'd like you to do is, if you do win, because some people forget to do this, I'd like you to take a picture of yourself in the theater, tag me, tag Fandango with a thank you to Fandango for the tickets. Because I do look, me giving away tickets to a movie doesn't mean, that I'm that I'm like, this is the greatest movie ever. It's more like, hey, I know people want to see this. You guys are, you're very kind to be fans or to be viewers or listeners to my stuff. So here's a perk for that you could possibly get. And that's it. So I hope that's okay for all of you. All right. I think that's it for for the Superman conversation. We've been talking over almost an hour about it. So I hope I nailed everything. I hope you guys have a better idea of the box office stuff. So let me take a drink, because I am now going to offer, and this may lead to more super chats. We will see. Thank you to I have 18 super chats already. The Streamlabs are open as well for those that want to send those in. Thank you to Fred Tastic, who has sent one already. Oh, I haven't pinned it in the chat, did I? Oh, my bad, guys. That's on me. Where is that? Let me see. Let me put that in the chat. I apologize for anyone who wants to send it in through Streamlabs. I sometimes forget. And I've got a new setup here. The camera's a little further back now to what I got. So that's why I'm kind of looking to my left, because I have my computer here. The camera is here. So you'll see me looking to my left and right on all of this. So let me put it in the chat real quick. I didn't have Ed to remind me. Ed always reminds me when I don't do this right. Maybe one of you all would like to volunteer to be my Ed Haskell on the truth going forward, to remind me to put this, pin it at the beginning of the show. But thank you all so much here. So Man of Steel, let's bring her up here. Where is this picture? Oh, I had it, and now it's gone. Oh, damn it. I had a photo for Man of Steel, and it's not here now. All right. I must have, let me see. Let me just put one up here. When you're running around trying to do stuff, sometimes you don't always get it all done in time to do the show. I do my best. Y'all. I do my best. But the reason I want to talk about Man of Steel is because I have seen today, or I've seen actually the last few days, the last few weeks, people just jumping back into the hatred for Man of Steel. And it's become just aggravating for me now. And I've just kind of hit my limit after 12 years of this situation, right? I mean, I've heard everything you can possibly say about this movie from everybody I know and people out on social media. And I think there are some people who are rage farming. I think some people who are trying to create engagement in order to get clicks and likes and views and make money off that stuff. But obviously I know people like my friend Michael Vogel on the Geek Buddies, who does not like the movie who likes the movie but doesn't love it and has issues with the lore. But I am a massive fan of Man of Steel, just a massive fan of Man of Steel. I like what Zack Snyder's approach to this film was. I like that it's an immigrant story, basically, which a lot of people are saying. I saw that article in THR, the guest column. Yes, Superman's always been an immigrant. Like, we need to be told that, but apparently some people do. I like that it was set in the real world. And as we look at our world, I think you would have a hard time saying that Zack Snyder was off base in his approach and interpretation of how some people might view an illegal alien with superpowers landing on Earth and being stronger than any military or any weapon. And so I appreciated, as I said earlier, I appreciated a new and creative approach to Man of Steel. I liked what Zack Snyder brought to the table. I liked that it was darker in terms of tone. I didn't mind the grayness, mainly because I like overcast days. So for me, grayness works. I love the gray. I enjoy the gray. I go hiking in overcast days. Like, I love overcast days. I go to the beach on overcast days. Rainy days, I'll go to the beach. I just love that energy. There's a comfort in that. When it's raining, I open the windows, put on some Netflix, and just sit here and chill. And I love that energy. So for me, the complaints that people have about the movie, I don't agree with them because I don't agree with most of them. I do see the point of some of them, but I don't agree with most of them because to me, he checked the boxes that I wanted to see in this version of Superman. And there's a hypocrisy, I think, right? Because a lot of people were like, well, Superman's kind of boring. He's kind of a Boy Scout. It's he's always doing the right thing. There's not a lot of vulnerability with Superman. That's what the narrative was at the time when this film was being made. And I think the film started being made in 2008. I don't mean shooting. I mean like the idea of making it, all of this stuff. I think that was in 2008, right around the same time as Iron Man and Hulk coming out, when they started kind of looking at this possibility and what they want to do and whatever. And so for me, I think people forget that at that time, everybody was making fun of Superman. And if I remember correctly, and some of you can correct me in the chat or in whatever, it's like Superman titles were getting discontinued because people weren't buying Superman comics at the same level as they did before. Now, you could argue that other comics were also being discontinued. But Superman, there's always been the knock on Superman. And Matt Nost used to say it on the top 10 all the time. I don't relate to him because nothing can affect him but kryptonite. And he's so powerful. He's so simple. He's so big, so powerful. So he can go through anything. He can deal with anything. There's no vulnerability here except when you introduce kryptonite, right? And so there's that element of it. So I think in that time, people were just kind of sick of it. So Zack came in with a new approach. What would it be like if Superman was to crash land on the Earth nowadays? Now, I think his Superman is maybe 10 years too early, because if you look at what's going on in our society today, if you look at the divisions within our society today, if you look at how some people in the political sphere are manipulating and crafting narratives to make boogeymen out of people, claiming that these people are destroying the fabric of American society, are here to kill and rape and murder, all these kinds of things, you see that the way people speak about quote unquote illegal aliens, which I hate that term, is very clear in the correlative to what you see from Mom, Pa Kent in the movie, and their worries about Clark in America. I think the problem people have, inherently the problem people have, is this is not their Superman. This is not they want to believe in the Norman Rockwell origins, Siegel and Schuster origins of Superman and the goodness of Superman. And I get it. I totally get it. I love 1978 Superman. I really loved this past Superman. But what I enjoy about Man of Steel is that it takes a chance with its approach to Superman. And instead of the movies reflecting back on us the foggy, nostalgic, deep beliefs that we have about who we are as a people, it turns the mirror back on us. And I think some people were upset by that. I think some people can't handle that. I think some people are bothered by that. The Batman, I always say this, the Batman is who we are. The Superman is who we want. Superman is who we want to be in the classical approach, right? But what Zack Snyder did was to show us as we sometimes really are, the ugly nature of our society. And at the end, Superman still wants to save us. At the end, Superman still believes we're worth saving. At the end, Superman kills, I won't say murders, kills the only living connection back to his planet in the ultimate act of love for his home planet. And some of you may not see it that way, and I totally understand that. It's a very controversial one. We'll get into it. But like for me, that's how I look at it. Jonathan Kent, who is, I think, unfairly vilified. I saw someone post on Twitter, like these two scenes, this scene and the scene with him by the truck where he says maybe for a lack of understanding how to answer that question in that moment. Someone posted like, this is my litmus test for how educated you are. That is so fucking stupid and shows me how uneducated you are when you don't understand what is happening in this movie. When you don't understand that he is showing us not your standard Mom, Pa Kent, not your standard Zod, not even your standard Jor-El. This is a much more, I don't want to say darker because that always leads to something else. I think this is a much more realistic approach to Superman. And what you see with Jonathan Kent is him as a man in the Midwest trying to figure out how to navigate the situation, how to guide his son, how to teach his son, who is from another planet, who has these powers, how to teach him not to be seen, not to be caught, not to reveal himself just yet. You know, people get caught up in these moments. Let's talk about it. People get caught up in these moments with Jonathan Kent, and they go, oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. They laugh at him sacrificing himself. Whenever I see that scene, I always get emotional. I cry like a baby in that scene because I've lost my father and I was unable to save him because he had cancer. And the helpless feeling you have watching your father slowly deteriorate in front of you. And sadly, I wasn't there when he actually passed because he sent me back home to LA because he didn't want me to be there when he passed. But there's something about that moment, the helplessness of Clark in that moment, that devastates me. And I love that moment because throughout the film, Jonathan is trying to teach Clark how to navigate this world, right? And people act like Jonathan just doesn't care about human beings and all this. It's nonsense. He tries to keep him away from the bullies. Clark squeezes that pipe with his hand. He could easily stand up and knock out all those bullies, and he doesn't. He tells Clark to hide his powers, and Clark still saves those kids on the bus, still saves people there. And like Pete Ross, was it Pete? Oh, yeah, Pete Ross's mom says in that scene in the living room, like, he's done this before. So Clark's instinct is to save people. His instinct is to do good. You know, so many people talk about this movie, they go like, oh, he doesn't save people, doesn't save people. Metropolis was already rubble from the terraforming, okay? We'll get to that section. But like, he saves people throughout the movie. On the oil rig, he saves Lois when she's hurtling in that craft in space going into the atmosphere. He saves people throughout the whole movie. So to me, it's frustrating when people try to say like he's not. And then the first flight sequence, that is so inspirational with the score and Jor-El's words, Russell Crowe delivering those words in the way he's delivering them. They will stumble, they will fall. And this is the thing about it. Ironically, the thing that Zack Snyder is doing is showing you what a human approach to being Superman. It is the most human approach to being Superman. When you watch 1978's Donner film, they gloss over a lot of things. They gloss over, we have a scene with the high school and the kicking of the ball and all that, but they gloss over a lot of what the difficulties might be like in a setting like that to be a person like Clark. They gloss over it. And to me, I think what I liked about Zack was that he didn't. He dove into it. He showed you what it would be like, the suspicions, the fear, the worries. What it would be like to hide yourself, right? You could argue that there are people who are who have a thing about themselves that they hide in small towns because they don't want to get ridiculed, or they have been ridiculed when they've allowed those pieces of themselves to come out. So again, a humanistic approach. The idea of stumbling and falling. We all stumble and fall. So he says, like, he will stumble and fall, right as he says people will stumble and fall as they follow you. But Clark has to stumble and fall first so he can understand what it's like to be human. And so this is what I like about the movie. It's actually deceptively a very human approach to being Superman. He's not above us. He's one of us. Yes, with the powers and all of that, but he falls in love. He gets hounded by these bullies at high school and then later by Zod and the two people with Zod. Those are in essence bullies who are trying to get something from him and want to beat him up to get it. And so you see that he is a person who is dealing with the stuff that you deal with in the real world, and when to allow himself to be himself, when to find his voice, when to step forward. Now, the hurricane moment, going all the way back to that moment here, as I said with Jonathan Kent, and we'll swing back to the moment with the on the truck as well. With the death of Jonathan here, what he does in this moment, in this final moment, is to show Clark the value of sacrifice. And it's important because he sends Clark back to take care of his mother under the bridge. He said, take your mom to the bridge. I will go get Rusty, the dog. When that car comes over, you see that he's in dire straits. But what does he do? He doesn't save himself. He saves the dog first. He opens the door so Rusty can jump out. Again, lessons from Jonathan Kent to Clark. Clark is visibly seeing all of this. He's got a twisted ankle, broken ankle probably, steps out, and there is everybody watching Jonathan and the tornado. Clark is there. His mom is there with him. He tells his mom, hold on, I'll be right back. And Jonathan stops him. And I think that moment is so powerful because Jonathan Kent is saying to Clark, this is not the place that you're going to reveal yourself. And I see some people going like, he could have done it really fast before anyone noticed. You morons. Jonathan Kent would be right there next to Clark a split second later. How the fuck would they assume? How the fuck would they take the fact that Jonathan Kent just showed up right next to them in a split second? What, the tornado brought him there? This is the madness of the logic of people sometimes. Like, no one's going to notice that Jonathan Kent just all of a sudden showed up next to Clark a split second after they just saw him over there with a hurricane about to take him and not think something happened, something weird happened. So this is the thing. This was not the moment for Clark to reveal himself. This was not the moment. And the fact that Clark looks back so that the audience knows the people are watching the situation happen. It's Jonathan who sacrifices his life in order to save Clark from revealing himself and possibly being captured by the government. Remember, this is a teenager Clark. This is a teenager Clark. And so he doesn't want his son to be subject to government experiments, government control. He doesn't know how a teenager who aren't typically that in control of their emotions is going to react without him, when he's been revealed and he's not around, right? Or he's been revealed and he is around, what the reaction is going to be. So to me, that's when I look at this moment, and I really it's jaw-dropping to me how some people don't get it. Now, it's very fair to say, if you believe that they didn't build up to this moment effectively, that's totally fair. I'm not, that's all subjective, right? For you, it didn't work. For me, it works because we've had the hints that Jonathan doesn't want Clark to reveal himself just yet until he knows what his true purpose is. And this moment, because remember, they're arguing about him taking over the family farm in the car before the tornado hits or hurricane hits, whatever it is. They're arguing about him taking over. And Clark knows he's meant for more. And Clark even says, you're not my real dad, which really sparks a strong reaction from Kent. And you see Jonathan deal with that. Yes, we're not your real parents, but we love you and we'll take care. We want to guide you and your real parents. So your real parents reveal what it is you're supposed to be doing here. And it's all about that because we see now how the society judges people who are different. how our society, and again, this is what I think is great about the movie, it turns the mirror on us. In the Superman movies that work, we're all good people. We're all good human beings. No, everybody except Lex or the villains, we're all good people. What the mirror does is shows us the society that had slaves, the society that still persecutes the LGBT plus community, the society that is now just going on with their lives while they're creating concentration camps in Florida for undocumented immigrants, for people who are, according to numerous people who've gone to visit the alligator Alcatraz, which is the most horrific term I've heard recently, 30 people stuffed in a jail cell with just the toilet bowl to brush their teeth, drink water from, and go to the bathroom in. That's the only water source they have. And not flooding. But we're going on with our lives like it's no big deal. This is what the movie shows us, is that we're not the Norman Rockwell stuff all the time. That there is an ugly underbelly to our country and to our country's history and to us as a people. And Superman still, by the end, wants to save us because of all the fears. And he overcomes his father's fears, right? Because his father's fears are legitimate. He's seen it. He's lived in the Midwest. He probably knows some of the terrible stuff that he's seen in the Midwest from some people. Not all people. I'm not saying the Midwest is a bad place. I'm saying there are people, elements in the Midwest. So he's seen that. And so he wants to protect his son from that. But his son overcomes that. Why? Because his son's natural instincts is to save people, like we saw all the way back with the bus and apparently before that. And so he takes the lessons from Jonathan. He takes the lessons from Jor-El. And as a fully formed adult, he fights Zod, kills Zod to save everyone on the planet. And then in the end, as Zack Snyder said this, and I'm going to read it in a second. In the end, he embraces being Superman, but on his terms. And I think that's amazing. I really do. And Zack Snyder said this. Here, let me read this. He said, the conversation is exactly what he says to Lois. I let my father die to protect the idea that my father was trying to protect. The idea that my father was trying to protect. The idea that I wasn't ready to be outed to the world because I wasn't Superman. I'm just a teenager that could have made a mess of it. I have the power to do it, but have I ever used my powers in this way? I trusted that his vision for what I could be was bigger than him. This little incident in Kansas was not the thing that was going to expose me to the world. And I think that's an incredible approach to it and an honest approach to it, and I get it. Some of you want the other Superman, and I totally respect that. I think that's fair. I'm just so sick and tired of these people snarking on Man of Steel when Man of Steel is about something. It's about something deeper. It's a commentary on our society. It may not be a commentary you like or agree with or want to look at, but it is there in our society. There is an ugly underbelly in history to our society. We're not all Norman Rockwell paintings. We're not. And yes, there should be something to aspire to. So I understand how people don't like that. But for me, by the end of the movie, I am inspired. The fact that he is willing to sacrifice for these people, knowing what the limitations are and overcoming his father's fears in order to do so and incorporate his father's lessons along with Jor-El's lessons, but deciding his own path, I think is very inspirational. Because guess what? Like I said when I was starting the discussion, it's a very humanistic approach. We do that. Not all of us live the way our father tells us to live or adhere to the fears our fathers had. We hear what our father told us. We hear what our mother told us. We hear what our elders have told us or mentors or whatever. And then we incorporate it into our lives and we walk our own path. Superman does that by the end. And I love that. I really do. I love that. And when we go back to the scene with the truck, I know some people get hung up on the maybe. Even Shannon the other day and keep us like, send it to a 13-year-old. Jonathan Kent does not know what the answer is here. Okay. He is trying to shield his son because he sees a bigger purpose for his son. And so in that moment, yes, he fumbles out the word maybe, but it's not maybe like, maybe? Yeah. It's more like he looks around and he's struggling to find, and he goes, maybe, but these are the reasons why I think this is important for you to consider and to look at this stuff, because there's a bigger purpose here. And you're going to have to sacrifice this. And then he leads, and Clark is like, I don't feel, why do I have this if I can't use it? Like a normal 13-year-old would ask, why do I have this? Why do I have this power? Why this ability? Why did God curse me with this if I can't use it? What's it all about? And Jonathan leads him down into the cellar and shows him the ship for the first time. And he has purpose. He has a place, the beginnings of a place. And it's beautiful. So people hung up on the maybe, when in fact the focus of the scene needs to be that Jonathan is giving his son purpose in that moment, is showing his son that he does have a home, that he's not different than anybody else. He's only different in the fact that he came from someplace else, but he's not different as a person. And that is important. There is something more for you to do. You are blessed with these talents. This is a blessing, what you have inside of you. How many people from the LGBTQ plus community, how many people who have these things inside them in different communities who are afraid to show them growing up because they get ridiculed? How important is it to have someone you love say to you, you know what? You're not different than anybody else. Here is how you're similar to everybody. Here are the commonalities. Here are the things that make you that make your life a universal thing, just like everybody else's. And I think that's fantastic in the movie. So hate the movie all you want for that Jonathan Kent stuff. I think they make it work really well, and it's believable. The people who are upset about it because it's not their Pa Kent from the comics, because they want that solid, knows everything he's supposed to do all the time, the human being that doesn't exist and has never existed. There's no human being who's known what to do in every moment, all the time, every time. None. Doesn't exist. It's fantasy, right? But they want their fantasy, and I understand that. But I love those movies that do that, because that fits for their movie. Jonathan Kent fit for this movie and the approach that Zack Snyder was taking. And I loved it. The last controversy on the film is, of course, the killing of Zod. And as I mentioned here earlier, I think it's really powerful that he kills him he sacrifices his last known connection to Krypton with the Codex. I think the Codex is running through him. So in essence, it's a way of Krypton to go after Zod overall as a whole through Superman. And he's killing him to stop him from killing this people. And what are we going to do? Are we going to put him in a jail cell that doesn't exist, that can hold a superpower human being like him? What did Superman show you when he was being interrogated? The cuffs snap. I could walk out of here at any time. So can Zod. Where are you going to put Zod that would keep him under control? Where are you going? And how are you going to trust that he's not going to break out and kill more people? So is it okay for him to keep killing people because we adhere to an ethos? And remember, I'm talking about a fantastical being. Or is it smarter for Clark in that moment? Not smarter maybe, but in that moment, is Clark making a decision to sacrifice him in order to save the people on the planet, because he loves his planet, and he wants to protect this planet, and he's embraced it as his home. And I lean in that direction. And what's great about it is that Zack didn't have Clark go, woo, or like, yeah, or sit there like, like, no. What does Clark do? He screams, he cries, and it's almost the exact same reaction he had when Jonathan Kent died. The screaming of the no. Because in a way, he is killing his last connection to his father. So in a way, killing his father all over again, even though his father, I think, could probably still appear in the ship, but it is his last connection to his father, last living connection to his father. Just like his father died, his last living connection to his father died within his father when he died in the hurricane. So both of the screens are similar on purpose. And I think there's something that comes from deep within himself. And as Zack Snyder has said numerous times, this is the thing that puts into place his ethos to not kill. It would have been the ethos to not kill going forward if he had been allowed to finish the Snyderverse his way. So there's more to say about that movie, but I think I've said what I need to say about the movie. I love the film, and I will always defend the movie, and I stand here for everyone who loves the film. Now, can you make complaints about some of the construction of the film, the dialogue, the narrative structure, the third act? I know my co-host on the Cinephile, Steve Morris, has had an issue with the third act. We are going to be doing Man of Steel after Superman. We're going to be recording Superman starting Tomorrow, Michael Vogel's our special guest for Superman. Man of Steel is going to be me and Steve. So we start recording Superman tomorrow, and then probably in a couple weeks we'll start Man of Steel. But for me, I will always defend this movie. I love this movie. I love what it has to say. I love that all these characters are flawed and real human beings in that way. And I appreciate that. Just like I appreciated Superman, James Gunn's Superman, and their approach to Ma and Pa Kent. Those are also human beings that I know and have met and grown up with. And Jonathan Kent in the movie for Man of Steel is a human being that I've known and met and grown up with. So I like the different approaches to it. And I wish we would just all stop fighting over these fucking movies and just be like, look, like what you like, and let me like what I like. And let me love what I love, because I'm letting you love what you love, you know. But too many people on social media come out and attack Man of Steel with their pimply-faced, bloated, sarcastic, nerdy takes. And it drives me out of my fucking mind, especially writers on sites. Like, I've got a new approach to bashing Man of Steel. Like, fuck off, man. Let the movie live. There are so many of us that love the movie. Let us have it. Why do you need to keep taking it down? It didn't affect your life in any way, shape, or form. You know, and you're becoming, or you are already, as toxic as any of the Snyder bros that you whine and complain about and post about on social media. As I said, short of death threats or sexual assault threats, the toxicity, the foundational toxicity of hating on a movie just to hate on a movie, I think is as bad as anything you people complain about with the Snyder bros. So just want to get my 2 cents, my truth out on that. Yeah. All right. So there we go. Have I riled enough feathers this morning? Have I really? So, all right. That's it. That's what I had to say. So let's get into your questions. Thank you so much. We're an hour and 40 minutes into the show. Please remember to hit a like on this video, subscribe to the channel down below. I will be doing the truth every Sunday, trying to, keep this going, because I really enjoy being on here and talking with you all. And I want to hear from you all. And yes, I think right now I'm going up against the Real Rejects, so my numbers have gone down. I'm sure people have gone over there to see their spoiler review. But I am chilling out here to answer your questions. So let's, wait, should we take that down? Oh yeah, sorry about that. Let me take that down. Let's get into these questions. J-Dog says, my best friend is an extra in Superman. I will go and see it after the truth. Thank you so much, Jay. Yeah, and congrats to your friend. Pretty cool stuff. I'm Two Fly Cam says, the anti-American sentiment is real. Trump has dealt a huge blow to Superman international numbers, in my opinion. I see a $715 million finish. I'll tell you this, I think Warner Brothers would be happy with anything over 700. I think they'd be ecstatic with anything over 700. I don't know about the anti-American sentiment. I have to take a look at the numbers for that. The global numbers aren't that strong, but Superman hasn't typically done that well globally. So we will see what the end result's going to be. I'm Two Fly Cam says also, I should have dropped in June. Too much traffic for July. You're possibly right. Samir says second weekend will be very important if it can top 500 million. I agree. The second weekend is going to be really big. This whole week and the second weekend are going to be really big indicators of where we're going with Superman. And where it's going to end up by the end. Samir also says international 95 million in 5 days is more surprising. Yes, I agree. It is surprising. So we will see what happens with that. John Vaskovich says, tell the truth. Nice little reference to Concussion, the Will Smith movie, which I think is it's an underappreciated movie. That movie is so good, and Will is so good in that movie. It's just before everything that happened. I'm Two Fly Cam says 600 isn't good. Under 600 is press the panic button. I don't think so. I mean, I think Warner Brothers has come out very clearly and said 500 is fine. So if they're saying it's fine, they've got to adhere to that. So if they start pushing the panic button because it didn't get to 600 after they'd said over 500 is fine, or 500 is fine, then I think there's some trouble. Honestly, some trouble there. The Lily Yankee says, hope Fantastic Four is good so there can be a Barbenheimer effect. Oh, possibly. Yeah, possibly. That's a very good possibility that like Fantastic Four comes out, people love it, and so it's people like, oh, let's go see both movies back to back. Very possible. Very possible. Factual Opinion says, any chance we can get a direct cut of Superman? I think when it comes out on home media, I think there's a very real possibility we'll see the deleted scenes or the 20 minutes of footage. There could be a director's cut. They could re-release it in theaters as a director's cut. We've seen that before in the past where films have added on the minutes. Shit, I can't remember what film it was that did that recently where they added on the minutes that they had cut. God, and they said new scenes. It might have been Morbius. I don't remember which movie it was. I'm Tim Like Cam also says, Gunn must come to Jesus. He can be the creative overseer, but bring in someone else to write and direct. The story was middling at best, combined with goofy moments. Superman is not Guardians of the Galaxy. He must adjust. Look, it's hard to make a case until we see the box office results. I think he did a great job with the film. I loved his direction of the film. I like the energy, the funniness. I got everything he was going for. Yeah, does it ironically, does it move too fast and also get bogged down in the middle? That's where I think the troubles lie for that movie, in the middle. But I think overall he nailed it. That being said, if the film doesn't do like gangbusters, there's a case to be made that maybe he shouldn't write it. Someone else should write it. And although his approach was great and a lot of people liked it, in the end, it didn't lead to the box office that they fully wanted to see. Sorry, guys, this keeps going down a little bit, or it keeps going up a little bit. Maybe I need to adjust that. Oh, no. Oh, I see. It's because I don't have the ball. Okay, never mind. I'll deal with that afterwards. Let's move on. George Katsuda says, the majority of reviews from critics in Canada, UK, and Australia were very negative. Can you speak to your theories around that? Okay, George, that's a great question. I think it's because there is an idea. This is a very American movie. It's made with a very American sentiment. And I'm not saying that these countries don't like American movies. Clearly, they love American movies with American sentiments. But there's something about Superman that has to feel global while also being distinctly American. And I think maybe they didn't get there with their approach. Plus, I think critics in those places are much more discerning of this kind of goofiness in their movies, especially when you're dealing with what's supposed to be an adult property, even though it's a multi-generational property, it is, but it's supposed to appeal to adults. These critics will kind of hammer the films for that. And we've seen that, I think, historically throughout the years, that critics from overseas are a little harder on films that try to have this kind of goofiness when they know the bones of it is not goofy. The bones of Superman are not goofy. They can be cheesy, they can be cheeseball-ish, but they're not goofy, right? Guardians of the Galaxy, that could be goofy, even though it had some very strong emotional moments within it. And people trying to say James Gunn can't do emotion is just hilarious to me. But I think that's what they say. The thing is that these critics overseas see this as a bit of frivolous American entertainment when it could have been a little bit more of a stronger commentary overall about what's going on and a little bit more of an adult approach to it. I'll be curious to see what I haven't gone back and read what these critics said about Man of Steel. I wonder if these overseas critics didn't have as much of an issue as with Man of Steel as American critics did. KJ says, Superman will never regain the popularity it had between 78 to the early 80s. Batman jumped over Superman in popularity in 86 after The Dark Knight Returns. Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. I mean, the fact that the Batman probably will do more than Superman, and the Batman also coming out at a time when superhero movies were starting to get a little bit of a dip during COVID as well, and a not universally celebrated choice to play Batman in Robert Pattinson. A lot of people doubted him because not a lot of people had seen his independent movies, and a lot of people had just remembered him from Twilight. So there was that as an additional element to it all. But it overcame all of it and made $770 something million. So much so that people have been clamoring for a Batman Part 2 and are writing James Gunn. They're not writing Matt Reeves. They're writing James Gunn to get a sequel for that movie out there. John Vaskovich says, do you plan on going to Survivor Series? I don't know, John. I try to stay out of public events now. People just act the fool. People are crazy. People are walking around with COVID still. I try to stay out of public events, too big public. That's why I'm not going to the Critics' Choice Awards. Like, I stay out of all of that stuff. It's not a big deal to me anymore. And I'm not a hermit. I do go out, I go do stuff, but like I try to stay away from big. But so we'll see. But if they were to invite me, like if I was to reach out to WWE Publicity and I could go as like a member of the press to cover it for my channel, that could be a lot of fun. And hopefully get into a box or something where it's not as much like where I'm, encircled by all of it. I think that's a possibility. We will see. It's in San Diego. I know that. KJ said, does Superman 2 deserve the Cinephiles treatment? I don't think so. Maybe down the road we might consider it, but I actually don't think it does. I don't think it's anywhere near as strong or as majestical or as moving as the first Superman movie. But maybe I can be talked into it if Steve really wants to do it. KJX says, why is Superman so scared of Krypto, the superdog dressed in armor? Because he's Krypto Knight. Oh, there you go. Krypto Knight. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. KJ, what was your reaction to Superman Returns? Oof, I did not like that movie. I hated that movie. I thought Kevin Spacey was terrible as Luthor. And I thought Kate Bosworth was possibly the worst Lois Lane we've ever seen. She was Lois Lane's kid sister. She was not Lois Lane. And then you throw in Super Kid, forget it. I mean, forget it with that nonsense. And I get it. You try to do something, but like, I don't know. You got to try to do something that makes sense and everything. I think Super Kid could have worked, honestly, if the overall film itself was good, but it wasn't. So Super Kid was just another thing to stack on the shit pile for me. But I liked Brandon Routh for what he did. And I liked him in Legends of Tomorrow. I liked him, was in Flash, where he played Adam, I think is what it was as well, Captain Adam. So I like Brandon Routh as an energy, as an actor, as a person. I just think the film itself, I think Bryan Singer was tracing Richard Donner. I don't think he understood how to evoke Richard Donner without tracing Richard Donner. Kind of like how I feel about Jurassic World Rebirth. They evoked Spielberg, but they traced Spielberg. They didn't evoke Spielberg. There's a difference. Brandon says, just finished watching the movie. This is definitely a bro-like Superman feel. Enjoyable to watch, but I wonder how they will handle more serious villains like Darkseid or Doomsday in this lighthearted universe. Brandon, that's an excellent fucking statement. How will they handle? Will Darkseid be played for laughs? Will we get a dance-off to stop Doomsday? It's a very good point, but I do think the film has some darkness on the edges of it. Like the public turning on Superman and throwing things at Superman. Lex Luthor shooting that dude in the head and murdering him right in front of Superman's face and Metamorpho's face. Him imprisoning Metamorpho and keeping his son from him. There is darkness in the film, Even the moments where Superman's getting frustrated, or Clark is getting frustrated with Lois about her questioning him about what's going on with the two countries in the Civil War, there is a darkness there. And even the corrupt son of a bitch, although he's played for laughs, he's corrupt to his soul, the guy who's in charge of Bravia. That's also a part of this as well. So, there is darkness. So I think it's possible, but it's going to take a hell of a left turn to make that work. But great question, Brandon, honestly. Who Hurt You Production says, hey, John, just finished listening to your hot mic. I want to say I think the actress that plays Queen Nada in Sandman would make a good Storm. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, she was really good, huh? Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the second season of Sandman, the first 6 episodes are out now on Netflix. I think the next set drop on the 24th. It's this season's better than the first season, and when I'm not even finished with the second season. So, but the first season was good. This one is just better. And Queen Nada has been a nice new addition to the show, and the actress who plays her is incredible. So yeah, dude, I like that. She's not that well known. I don't know if they can do it, but yeah, I liked her too. Verisimilitudes, it's online tribalism for immature haters. Yeah, I agree. The Man of Steel stuff. Yeah. It's so frustrating. Wiley Todd says, you hit the nail on the head. The reason why I love Man of Steel is the emotion. My favorite moment is him crying in the closet at school. Yes, I didn't even mention that. And that's another way this feels very relatable to me as a kid who was bullied for being fat or being Latino or having a bowl haircut or being different because I wasn't like all the other kids. Like, I know what it's like to sit there hiding away and crying as a young kid, and wanting your mom, like when your mom comes to school, like that scene where she is talking to him through the door, and he is like lying in the water, remembering that scene after the oil rig blow up. By the way, sacrificing himself to save those guys in the oil rig yet again. Again, I don't understand when people say Superman doesn't save people in that movie. He saves people all over that fucking movie. But that movie that moment, that scene is so moving, so touching. I cry every time as well. And those of us who've been bullied, how can you not feel that moment? Those of us who've been hounded for being different, how can you not feel that moment when Ma Kent uses her tenderness to get Clark through the door? It's beautiful, fucking beautiful, man. Mike Fighter says an attack. This movie does not have This movie does not have any emotion in Superman. Part 1, you had the helicopter scene. Superman Part 2, you had General. Do you care to step outside? No emotions. I'm sorry, brother. I can't make sense of this. An attack. This movie does not have any emotion in Superman. Part 1, you had the helicopter scene. Superman Part 2, you had General. Do you care to step outside? No emotions. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't understand what that means, Mike Fighter. If you're still here, brother, let me know. Will you clarify in the chat? I will read your chat. 365 iRock, says, Rocha, I love your content, so please keep up the great work. Thank you. Very kind of you, iRock. I appreciate it. I'm going to do my best. Having just seen the new Superman movie, I still prefer Man of Steel. You can like Man of Steel without being a Snyder bro. 100%. I am not a Snyder bro. I don't hound people for, I don't threaten anybody or whatever. I just like the movie. I love the movie, rather. But I'm not a Snyder in the typical Snyder bro. I do wish he'd been allowed to finish his universe, but you can wish for anything in the world. It doesn't mean you're going to get it. But thanks, man. I appreciate the kind words, 365. Thank you so much. George Kalsuda says, I really disliked how even though Superman witnessed Lex shoot that innocent man in the head in the end scene, he felt the need to seek validation from Lex and explain himself to him. I hated that. Okay. I can see where you're coming from. And maybe the lead up to that moment wasn't done well enough for you to buy that speech at that moment, which I think is fair, by the way. I think that's totally fair. But I like that speech. And I think that speech worked for me because I agree with what he's saying in that moment. But I do totally understand where you're coming from. Because he shouldn't need to seek Luthor's validation, considering what he did. But then again, this is a Superman that is supposed to be better than all of us. And I don't mean better in terms of condescending. I mean, he's not supposed to give in to his instincts to do worse, which is why they use Krypto to come in and beat the shit out of Luthor, because Superman can't do it. That looks bad if he does it. And he delivers the speech because Superman always thinks this Superman always thinks any person can be saved from their evil instincts. Remember in the stadium, he's trying to save the engineer. He's like, it's not too late. It's not too late. Ultraman as well, but they're both fighting him and they don't listen. And so in a way, him delivering the speech to Luthor is saying to him, this is who I am. And this is what we're about as a people. And this is where you're different. And this is where you need to fix this. And so in a way, him delivering his credo, in essence, is a way to push back on Luthor and tell him he's got to do better. Because Superman believes in people. And that's Superman does. And so I think it works within what they laid out in the movie. But if it didn't work for you, again, I totally understand and respect that. Andrew Hale, what's up, Andrew? He says, I loved Superman, the most recent one. Even though I didn't 100% love Man of Steel as a whole, it was definitely more deep and emotional, especially the Jonathan Clark stuff, and respect Snyder's vision. Keep it up, Rocha. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it, brother. We're on the come up again, my friend. So thank you so much for being here. Changes happening on the channel, big stuff happening, so Andrew, you were a big part of that. So thank you so much for coming in here, man. Fredtastic says, hey, Outlaw, I'm okay with however James Gunn takes the canon because it's the DCU's canon, the same way the MCU is telling its own story. Yes, Fredtastic, you're absolutely right. It is the DCU's canon, and they will approve what James does one way or the other. Matt Maker Studios, hey, he says, hey, it's my first super chat to you, but I've been watching you for years. Thank you. I've grown to really respect you. Keep up the fun work that you do. Oh, thanks, Matt Makers. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Hey, let people know what you guys do. Do you guys create stuff? What do you guys do? Matt Maker Studio. I'm so curious to hear. DM me. What do you guys do? Maybe there's something you can create and I can put up on the channel. Be a lot of fun. Dancing Dog, and thanks for sending in your first super chat. Thanks, man. Dancing Dog 60. I find it interesting that in both Superman the movie and Superman, the hero's hero is the character of Eve Tessmacher. Hashtag Eve is a hero. Oh, 100%. And the thing is, that's a way of evoking the Donner Superman. They use the score, want to evoke elements of the Donner Superman, even Eve Tessmacher, because in the 78 movie, for those you remember, he has to convince her to take the kryptonite chains off of him so that he can stop Luthor doing what he's doing. And in here, but once again, it's Luthor dismissing her as an entity, right? It's the same. It's evocative because she does that. He does that to her in 1978. And then again here in this version, Luthor throwing things at Eve to kick her out and then yanking her out of that closet with Ultraman. So yeah, Eve is great. And I hope she's a part of if they do the Jimmy Olsen series and Sarah Sampaio isn't a part of it, if she wants to be a part of it, that is such a massive mistake. It has to be their relationship. The on and off again nature of their relationship. That's going to sell the show. Not Jimmy going around banging ladies and fucking taking pictures and whatever. That's not going to sell. And writing pieces. That's not going to sell the show. It's got to be their relationship. Simon Section, if they're going to bring Darkseid in the DCU in order to avoid the Thanos comparisons, we need to see him in his true form, not just his avatar. The truth. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. I wonder if they'll do it, but it's an excellent point. I got nothing negative to say about that. That makes a lot of sense, brother. So yeah, let's see him in his true form. Brandon Gaines, what's up, Brandon? Says, just watched Superman last night. Really enjoyed it. If Marvel can get back on track while the DCU continues to build on a good foundation with this movie, in my opinion, the next few years could be exciting. Oh, I agree, Brandon. Like, there is a bubbling sense of excitement that is through a majority of the fandom right now. Maybe some of the people who didn't like Superman, no, but like a majority of the fandom right now that that loved Superman. If Fantastic Four nails it, going forward, we could be seeing two thriving DC and Marvel situations, which will, I think, 10 years from now, lead us to a crossover event with Marvel and DC characters in the same movie. I 100% think that's possible. I do. I think that's possible. It's going to depend on who's in charge. And if it's still Gunn and Feige, those guys have worked together before. So why wouldn't they find a way to make that happen? So I think it's very possible. But yes, we might be eating for a few good years with Brandon. So great point. Javier Reyes, good to see you, Javier. Thank you so much for coming in. He says, Man of Steel is my favorite Superman movie. So great breakdown of Man of Steel. Keep up the great work, Mr. Rocha. Oh, thanks, Javier. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for the super chats when you send in your love and support here on the channel. I very much appreciate it, brother. Okay, let's hit some of these Streamlabs. While I'm doing that, there's 350 of you hanging out with me right now live. Thank you so much. Please remember to subscribe down below and hit that bell button so you see when I'm dropping all the content we do here. And also, if you want to, if you are a member of another YouTube channel and they have memberships, I would love it if you DM'd me suggestions for what I can offer on my side of memberships. Because I've been looking at this stuff and I want to open the door to memberships here on YouTube. I do have a Patreon, but we'll see what's going to happen with that going forward. But I certainly would love to open the door to memberships as well. So if you have an idea and a dollar amount, like, oh, a lot of people offer this for this, DM me and let me know. Another thing you DM me about, I'm going to stress this again. If you want to win a pair of tickets to see Superman this week or today even, send me a DM. Oh, no, actually tomorrow, because I'm going to live this for 24 hours. Send me a DM in my Twitter and in my Instagram, and I will select 5 winners, and they will get 2 tickets to go see Superman, brought to you by Fandango. I only ask that you take a picture of yourself at the theater with whoever you're with and tag me and thank at Fandango. I would appreciate that. All right, so let's hit these Streamlabs that have come through. Fredtastic says, hey, Rocha, I love Superman. Something I noticed about it that gives me hope is the excitement people talking about a Mr. Terrific series or other spinoffs in the future. Reminds me of how excited people were over Deadpool and Wolverine and the Anchor Being talk. Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of people are very excited about what's coming next. A lot of people felt like I did that Mr. Terrific stole the movie. So a series with him would be really exciting. The Jimmy Olsen's here. I think a lot of people like Scarlett Gisondo, so series with him is a lot of fun. So yeah, that's what you want. People coming out of a movie and organically being excited to see more from it. And I think that's what you're seeing with a lot of the fandom right now. We'll see if the box office numbers reflect that down the road. But for right now, coming out of this opening weekend, although the box office numbers aren't the strongest that they could be, I think they're pretty good for where they're at. And I know other people say it's terrible because they want to, they want to have a feeling about it. It's fair. It's fair. If there's honest analysis, it's fair. If it's grifting analysis, get the fuck out of here. And so I understand that. So the fact that you've got a lot of people getting excited about this, says, and tell you what, the one short I put up yesterday that is addressing the Mr. Terrific and Jimmy Olsen shows is doing gangbusters compared to my shorts that I dropped earlier in the week. So that tells you there is an excitement to see more of this universe in different formats from James Gunn. All right, Dancing Dog 60. Thank you, Dancing Dog. Says Man of Steel took big swings and it's a big production. That's right. Reminds me of 79 Star Trek, the motion picture. Big production, big swings, pretty serious. Compared to JJ's 2009 Star Trek, colorful, funny, accessible to everyone. Great show as always, John. It's excellent points, Dancy Dog. It's excellent points. It's one of the reasons why I enjoy going live with you all, because some of you come in with some really great points and some really great analysis and perspectives, and I always appreciate that. So thank you, Dancing Dog. Yes, that's a great comparison. This Superman is very similar to 2009 Star Trek, which I am desperate to watch again very soon. We just finished doing Star Trek 4 on the Cinephiles with Scott Mantz. All 3 episodes are up now. All 3 parts are up, so you can just listen to them one right after the other if you've got 6 hours to spare over the next few days. But yeah, so we are definitely going to swing back and do 2009 Star Trek at some point down the road. But that's a great comparison. You're absolutely right on that comparison. Raya says, if DC Studios were to make the Batman a part of their mainline universe, what are possibly good and bad things about that in your opinion? Thanks for the great discussion as always. Thank you, Raya. Good question. Well, the good is that you've got someone like Robert Pattinson who can clearly open the Batman movie and people love the Batman. And so we've got a Batman Part 2 coming. And I think people would be very excited to see him in the universe. The bad part is, how do you make that work and meld the two tones? This is in comics, you can do that because I can read a Superman comic book, I can read a Batman comic book. I don't go to a Batman comic book to get a Superman comic book. I don't, and vice versa. I don't go to a Superman comic book to get a Batman comic book. So how do you meld the tones is going to be interesting. And I think that's where the danger lies. The bad is that you could be jokifying a little bit too much of the Matt Reeves universe, which doesn't have a lot of jokes in it. Are there moments of humor? Situational humor, yes, but not necessarily jokes and smirks and all of that. There's not a lot of that in either the Penguin or in the Batman. So how do you make that work with Superman? And I think that's where the difficulty lies. And that's where I think it could be bad. The other option is that you go darker with this Superman, and that could be dangerous because clearly a lot of people love the lighter, breezier, funnier, goofier Superman. Not everybody, obviously, but a lot of people did. So are you able to meld the tones? This is going to be the difficulty going forward if they are going to do that. However, I think the way this has been received, and if it continues to have legs down the road, I don't think we're going to see Robert Pattinson in the DCU. I just don't. This is such a different take in such a different approach. And there's such a fantastical nature to this. I just don't see Robert Pattinson's Batman fitting into this version of the DC universe. That's my feeling coming out of the movie. All right, I think those are all the Streamlabs. Let's see if I've got any more super chats since the last one here. I think I do. Mike Hill. Hey, Mike, he says, do you think the Jor-El message could be Brainiac set up? Maybe he corrupted the message, or is this Jor-El just evil? I can't see that personally. Yeah, Mike, I'm in the same boat as you. I think this, I said this on Twitter. This is the opening of a new universe, the first movie in a new universe. So we have to let James Gunn lay out what he's going to do here. And he's planting seeds for storylines down the road. Now, people can be upset about it because, of course, everyone's allowed to have their opinion and their reaction to a movie. People can be upset about it right now, but they may be, in the end, praising it because of how James Gunn handled it down the road with the storyline he was telling with Jor-El. Brainiac could possibly be involved. It could be that Luthor got tricked by this, and the engineer got tricked by this, and that Brainiac has always Brainiac has maybe been involved with Krypton. Maybe he intercepted the ship and then loaded the message. Maybe he did something with the message. There's all kinds of possibilities. You've also got an IT crew. What's to say that one of those guys isn't Brainiac, one of those girls isn't Brainiac? So there's possibilities as well, just kind of monitoring things from the sidelines, not ready to make a move yet. He's playing the longer game, as Brainiac would do. So yeah, I think there's very real possibilities that this is not Jor-El's actual message. But if it is, I think James Gunn has some heavy lifting to do here with some sections of the fandom to convince people that this storyline makes sense. So that's what I would say. But thank you, Mike, for the super chat. Javier back again. What's up, Javier? I enjoyed Gunn's Superman, and what excites me the most is seeing this brand new world. It made me want to see more DC heroes I never heard of, like Mr. Terrific and this version of Green Lantern. Yeah, that's a great point. I also was not too familiar with Mr. Terrific. I knew of him. I've seen panels with him. I've seen stuff with him, but I hadn't been like reading his books or anything like that. And so to me, I felt the same way coming out of the movie. Like, oh, I want to see more. I even liked Hawkgirl for the limited amount of time we got from her. I liked Isabella's interpretation. Her screaming down the hallway as she's chasing the dude from Bravia and other people, I thought was fantastic. Her killing him. Like you said, you talk about darkness. She dropped him right there in the middle of the square, right? I think she killed him. Correct me if I'm wrong. So there's this, do you see that? You see that here. So to me, I think this is a great situation. Not only, Javier, you're pointing out something really great. Not only are people excited to see more from the characters that they've seen before, they're also excited to see more from these characters. Oh, sorry. Not only are they excited to see more from the characters that are in this movie and that they've seen before, they're also excited to see characters coming up from James Gunn's universe, that DC universe that we've never seen on camera before. So that's a great thing. And I know, so we saw Mr. Terrific in Smallville, I think, or Flash, but this is the theatrical adaptation or the interpretation. Dancing Dog 60, Luther's online monkeys were a nod to certain fans. Yeah, I know. And the thing is, people go upset about this scene. And before I saw the movie, I was also like, oh, fuck, are they going to make a big deal out of this? This seems so on the nose. Kind of like, what was it, Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan and all those, Mandy, like they made songs where they were ridiculing the fans and paparazzi. It's like, man, don't hang a lantern on it. The last thing you want to do when people are coming at you for something is to hang an awkward, cringy lantern on it. And I think those songs that they put out were cringy and they hung a lantern on it when they could have just ignored it. Because, I mean, if you're big enough, you should be ignoring a small minority of criticism from people, right? If I get to 100,000, 250,000 viewers, if that's a possibility for me in the future, I'm not going to care what someone with 4 subscribers says, right? If they're being mean or condescending or evil or attacking my credibility or just being trollish, right? Or toxic. And so I understand why they wanted to put that scene with the monkeys in the movie. However, I think it worked really well because you move right past it. You don't look at it, he just says it and he's moving out. And because it's an allusion to what's actually really going on in our world, where you have these countries that have these bots that are on our social media to create division because they flourish under division. So I thought it was a nice nod to it that they didn't dwell too long on and didn't hang a lantern that was too bright on it. KJ says, what Superman book is over your shoulder? Your favorite Superman animated movie? Ooh. I dropped the Funko Pop that was keeping it awake. This is from Frank Miller, Superman Year One, and John Romita Jr. I took the cover off because I don't like to have the covers on all the time. I liked this cover of the Superman, and this is amazing stuff. This is amazing. This book, if you guys haven't read it, it's so cool. And there's a lot of stuff you've seen in different shows before, and things of that nature, in different films. So it's an amazing book. And so I keep it up here as like an homage to Superman. It's Superman weeks right now. Please don't fall over. Superman animated movie. Ooh, that's tough. Let me see here. Cause I mean, never mind. I just movies. Okay. Let me see movies. I mean, I got to give a shout out to my boy, Tim Sheridan. Mike Vogel and Shannon and I went to school with Tim Sheridan at Florida State. It's so amazing that Tim is blowing up on the comic book side of things and the animated movie side of things. We interviewed him for, I think, Superman Man of Tomorrow when that came out on 4K. So I will say that. Reign of the Superman, I think he did a great job with that. I do like Red Sun. I thought Red Sun was a good interpretation of it as well. What else is in here with Superman? I mean, I loved the version. Oh, Flashpoint. He's great in Flashpoint. I haven't seen Crisis, the animated Crisis. I should watch that one. And Dark Knight Returns, as I watched both parts the other day. I loved him in that. But yeah, I guess I'll have to say Reign of the Superman, I guess. Oh no, Red Sun. I mean, I really like Red Sun. I thought Red Sun was really well done. And it's only an hour. You're in and you're out. So I'll say Red Sun. Thanks, KJ. Brandon says Superman Returns was better at romanticizing a man flying being a god among us with flying scenes and score. Something this new film lacked a little. It was more fun than romantic and epic feeling. Yeah, I don't disagree with you. He was, in a lot of ways, this Superman was very, how can I say this? I mean, I don't want to say simple, but I guess simple. And I don't mean simple in terms of dumb. I mean simple like it's pretty straightforward. And there is humor to him. There's some nice levels going on with him. You see the emotion with him and his parents. You see the emotion with him and Lois by the end. So, yeah, I enjoy that and enjoy that element of the movie. But, yeah, there isn't a romanticization of him for sure in the movie. Like, people are like, oh. But you do have the kid holding the Superman flag up in the middle of the Civil War. So that's pretty moving. But you're not romanticizing his abilities, right? Because you've presented a world that people have been around. People have seen this for 3 centuries now. So it's not going to have that romantic nature to it, So I hear you, or the epic nature to it, because they've seen the fact that they're nonchalant about a kaiju in the middle of Metropolis. It tells you you're not going to get a lot of epicness out of that. Brandon also says one funny criticism I have. I thought the costumes of the Justice Gang was a little CW-ish with their full leather costumes. They definitely abandoned the skin tight suit. Yeah, I think that's on purpose, though. I think Maxwell Lord is supposed to be a good guy, and so what's a good guy do? He doesn't turn his heroes into objectification symbols, and so that may be the approach they're having there. And I think the Justice League, when it finally gets formed, or the Justice League International, I think they're going to determine for themselves what they want to look like, and so that's down the road. I think for now this works for what it is, but eventually they're going to wear what they want to wear, as opposed to corporate stuff. I think that's going to change. I have Like Ham says, did you see Zaslav comments about DC's future today? No, I've been on here. I don't know what his comments were. Let me see if I can look it up real quick on Twitter. I do have to get going soon. Here we go. Okay. 3 years ago, I hired. Okay. So this is Warner Brothers CEO, David Zaslav. Gee, my throat is so dry. Sorry, guys. Has issued a statement on Superman's opening weekend. So let's read it together. Let me pull down, I do feel like Cam's thing. Let me see here. Share the screen. Oh yeah, let me take my graphic down as well. Oh, what the hell? Oh, cancel. No, cancel. Sorry. There we go. Let me take my graphic down. All right. Here it is in its entirety. All right, here we go. 3 years ago, I hired James Gunn and Peter Safran to reimagine and unify the creative direction of DC under one leadership team by breathing new life and excitement into one of the most iconic storytelling franchises in the world. James and Peter's commitment to honoring the legacy of the DC universe while forging something new and enthralling is inspired. I remember my first meeting with James 3 years ago. He spoke about growing up in Missouri and how the characters of the DC universe weren't just stories to him. They were like his family. His personal bond with these DC heroes was powerful, and I knew then that James was the right person to bring them to life. His love for the DC world runs deep, and it shines in every frame of his work. This weekend, we watched Superman soar as James Gunn's passion and vision came to life on the big screen. Superman is just the first step. Over the next year alone, DC Studios will introduce the film Supergirl and Clayface in theaters and the series Lanterns on HBO Max, all part of a bold 10-year plan. The DC vision is clear, the momentum is real, and I couldn't be more excited for what's ahead. All right, so I think those are really good words to get from your boss, from the CEO of Warner Brothers. But I also think dancing after the first round, as I've told you in the for those of you who remember me in the Schmodown, if you celebrate after the first round because you had a good first round, you're celebrating too early. So I do think the statement is a very strong statement, and maybe they've got tracking numbers that shows that Superman is going to do well. Maybe they're also trying to drum up more interest in the film and get more people to go see it multiple times to hit some box office numbers by having Zaslav express his pleasure and joy and support of James Gunn. It's a good statement. You can't argue that. It's just, I think, a little too early for this statement to be talking about the 10-year plan and all this stuff coming, because if this film all of a sudden craters, which I don't think it will, but if it does, then you look a little like you have egg on your face. What was the most recent one where some executive came out and was like glowing about the film, and then the film went into the tank? I can't remember what it was. I'm trying to remember what that was. Brandon says, can you tell me what is a hero that they mentioned? What's a harem? I don't know. Harem? What's a harem that they mentioned in Superman? Yeah, harem or hero? Well, a hero, well, you had the Justice Society of America there. The JSA had a banner in the Hall of Justice. So there is more to come on that end. But from the beginning, you know that heroes have been around for 3 centuries. They put that in the graphic at the beginning of the movie. I don't know if there's another hero that they mentioned, but I can tell you what a harem is. It's a man having a lot of women. It's typical. Could be vice versa. Could be a woman having a lot of men. Shay Markel, what's up, Shay? He said, I will say this version of Superman is a perfect setup for the ultimate bromance between he and Batman. I can picture the reluctant brotherhood. Yeah, but that implies that Batman's going to have to smirk a little bit or get softer. But to be fair, at the end of the Batman, it is a brighter ending. He has embraced being a hero to the people. They both leave into the sunrise or sunset. Sunrise, I think. So there is a brighter feeling at the end of the Batman than everything that came before it. Now, the Penguin is something else because the Penguin is Gotham and the darkness, and they're on the ground floor. But the Batman you could, after what happened at the end of that movie, you could see them adjusting him to be a little less darker, a little more back and forth with David Cornsweat. So we will see. We will see, Shay. That's a fair point. Dancing Dog 6 says this Superman is like Andy Griffith and Mayberry. I mean, yeah. And this is what people wanted. They wanted this kind of Superman, and they got this kind of Superman, whether we like it or not. So, yeah, Brandon said, what's a secret harem? Yeah, I think he has a secret harem yet, or will. I don't think he'll have one. But I do think, and I'm not trying to make a connection to harem, but made me think about this. Like, I think it'll be funny when Wonder Woman finally gets cast and becomes a part of the universe. Will there be some jealousy on Lois's end about Wonder Woman? Will there be a little bit of thing there? And I think that would be fun to see. And depending on Superman, like maybe jealous of Lois for certain things. So, I mean, I think it's fair that that's a possibility in this universe. So we will see. We will see. Stephanie, what's up? Stephanie says, still waiting for my harem application approval. Yeah, Stephanie sent this in a couple of days ago to get into the harem. She's in her application in a couple of days ago to get into the harem. Stephanie, you got to keep this as a running joke. For God's sakes, you got to keep this as a running joke. You got to find out what they respond with. Let's see. Mike McKenzie. I think this is the last one before we get on out of here. Mike McKenzie says, hey, John, The Last of Us Season 2 just released a Chronicle Order mode for the game. If you were playing it for the first time, would you rather Chronicle Order or the original Tarantino-style structure? Man, I don't know. It's a great question. I just finished Ghost of Tsushima, as you guys heard me talk about last week. And I'm now going back through the New Game Plus and having some fun with that a little bit. But I think seeing a game for the first time, it's a nice challenge to do the Tarantino style, because you're like, well, what the hell does this mean? Where's this going? As opposed to, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? So I think that could be a lot of fun. So I'll probably play it that way when I finally get the game. Which I'm really starting to lean towards getting back into video games after my experience with Ghost of Tsushima. So we will see. I probably have to get the Indiana Jones game next. All right, let's stop there. Thank you all so much. We have gone, well over 2 hours. I did not anticipate that we would go this long, but thank you so much. I got to get some lunch. I got to get my car washed. You guys are amazing. And Shay says, I should say I don't want Battinson in the DCU. I'd like a new Batman. I have no ideas for who I'd like to play him, though. Oh, sure. If we get a new Batman, then yes, I think that Batman is going to be a Batman Brave and Bold Batman, which is a little more jokey, shall we say, a little more relaxed with the humor. So I think that's the approach. And if this movie does end up doing really well, Shay, I think that James Gunn has even more ammunition to be like, look, that's Matt Reeves' Batman. I need my Batman to fit in what I laid out to you. Now that you see how positively people have responded to it, please let me make my Batman the way I want to do it. So I think that's a very real possibility, Shay. All right, there we go. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you all hanging out with me. Please, as I said, subscribe to the channel down below. Hit a like on this video as well. Share it on social media to let people know we're doing The Truth every Sunday morning at 10 a.m., possibly 9 a.m. going forward with the NFL. I would appreciate that. And also, like I said, if you want to win a pair of tickets for Superman, DM me on Twitter or on Instagram with your favorite line from a Superman movie, animated or live action. Tell me why it's your favorite line, and you'll be entered, and you might possibly win a pair of tickets to see Superman sometime this week. I will send you it, and you will go when you feel like going. If you win, there you go. All right, and what I say at the end of every one of these, I love to say this to you all. I hope you hear me on a Sunday morning. Whatever you need to do, honestly, to get through the next second, next minute, next hour, next day, next week, next month, next year, please make sure you find a way to do that. The world is tough out there sometimes. Tough times are rolling through our lives sometimes. Those of you who are in good times, keep doing what you're doing. Keep enjoying the wave. Those of you might be in a little bit of a tougher time right now. Remember that statement I said the last couple of weeks. I want to keep reiterating it. If you think you can't get through the tough times, look at your record. Up to this point in your life, you are undefeated getting through tough times. So you've been able to do it before. You can do it again. You have it within you. You have it within you. Find that strength. Find that ability. Get through those tough times. I love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Don't forget that we have tomorrow live. The Hot Mic's going live tomorrow with Jeff and I doing a review of Superman and also talking about some of the box office and other stuff going on. Now that by Monday, we'll have a little bit of a bigger understanding of what's going on after the Sunday numbers have dropped. And we'll talk about other things as well that went on in the world of entertainment over the last few days. So live at 5 p.m. PT tomorrow night, the Hot Mic. There'll be more Geek Buddies, more Jedi Way, more everything coming up this week. Look for all of it here on the soon-to-be John Rocha channel. And we might be finally closing the door on the Outlaw Nation channel with a blowout live show. I might go live all day or all night in honor of the Outlaw Nation to say goodbye and retire the cowboy hat once and for all. So we will see. I'll let you know plans on that. So thank you guys so much. Take care of yourselves. Be well and come back and see me next time for another brand new episode of The Truth. Enjoy your Sunday. Peace.